was like,
crazy.
Oh, should we stop talking? Okay. Just say when. Just be like,
They're like, just say shut up. We'll shut up.
what up, everybody?
hello.
Welcome to
Daddy.
Global Game Podcast, episode 13.
You're not supposed to be doing
Alright, let's get down to business.
You're so good at your job. I did that on purpose, too.
It doesn't help that I was muted, actually, in the stream, so... Oh.
I can already tell this will be a very fun session.
Oh, man. Alright. Regain the composure. And what is going on, Global Gang? Welcome to episode 13 of the podcast. Today we are on my channel today, twitch.tv/Setsu. And as always, I am joined by basically the manager of the Global Gang podcast, Mr. Alec Hunter, 1982.
Hey, guys.
And today we are sadly missing our other compadres, our compatriots. Anthony JMO and Trevor is on guard, because he's always on guard. But we do have a couple of very special guests. I am actually, I've been fanboying all week, guys. I'm just saying. I would like to first introduce the man, the myth, the legend, the one who says you are already dead, Mr. Jin-Roh.
What's good? Thanks for having me on. It's a real pleasure.
And then you can check out his Twitter and his YouTube channel right there, guys. And we are joined by his compatriot, his significant other, the lovely Miss Social Fire. Welcome, Social Fire.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
And then, guys, also don't forget to check out her on her YouTube, Social Fire, and then of course on Twitter at Social Fire YT. And then obviously Jin-Roh's is at Jin-Roh DBZ. So every podcast where we have guests, guys, we always ask a couple of questions just to kind of dig into our guests. So I hope you're prepared for this 99 question essay. So first things first, how and when did you get into Dokkan Battle?
I'll let Jen answer first because my answer kind of leads into that.
Okay, I was gonna say ladies first, but I'll answer it. So I guess for me, right, long story short, I kind of continue to look around for a mobile game based on Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball in general. And, you know, I've seen offshoots and rip-offs here and there, but nothing really stuck. And I think about 2 months after the JP release, I just happened to check the Google Play or whatever and came across of it. And ever since then, it's been it's been a point of no return.
Yeah, and for me, I actually watched you play for several years, and I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan. And eventually, he's like, "You should just play."
Yeah, I was like, don't watch me play it.
It was a time factor, but I gave it like one day and literally got hooked like first day. So pretty much from there, I've just been playing ever since.
Heck yeah. And then obviously we gotta ask everybody this. What's your favorite unit in Dokkan right now?
I know.
Yeah, you already know your answers. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
I mean, Tech Trunks easily. Like I love so many units, but he's my favorite because I'm a huge Trunks fan. But I feel like that's a very solid unit.
Oh, so LR Trunks got replaced?
No. That's kind of my like white whale or white buffalo. What's it? That's like the one that I'm chasing just because I really want physical LR Trunks. I mean, I feel like it's underrated unit, but also because I love card art. Pretty iconic for me. That's just kind of the unit that I'm just chasing and trying to get. He won't drop on either account. I don't know what it is.
Oh, I have
I
units
guess for
with that.
me, it would be, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, you're fine. That's all I had to say about that.
I think for me, it's one of my most recent favorites has been the Tech LR Broly. It just signifies how Broly is as a character, built into an actual card of, just a straight up hard hitting unit. Defense is okay, but not great by any means. But it's just ridiculous how powerful the unit is from an offensive standpoint. But the fact that the animations are ridiculously good from the super attack to the transformation. So, currently at this point, Tech LR Broly is definitely my favorite. However, the Intelligence Perfect Cell is a close second.
The LR or the TUR?
The TUR, so like the card art is what I love about that card. I mean, it's just such a nice looking card. So that was actually my favorite before Tech LR Broly came out, and pretty much that's kind of the deal. The card itself isn't. I mean, it's great, but it's not game breaking or anything by any means. But it's certainly a personal favorite of mine.
Yeah, true. I always loved it because it always it reminds me of when he came back, obviously, and he's like, my body can regenerate unless you destroy every cell. And I was like, there it is. So
Yeah, good times.
So
Well,
another.
let's flip the script a little bit. Since I don't know, what are your guys' favorite units in the game right now?
Go ahead, Alec.
Oh, okay. Alright, so as far as favorite units, I mean, my favorite units to use, I don't have like a specific one. I love defensive stacking units because I like to run the Legendary Goku event. So for me, when I answer that question, I go off the one whose aesthetic I like the most, which is Cumber, the free-to-play Cumber. He's quite possibly my favorite as far as like the art of the character goes, and his kit's pretty cool. Let him get hit and he does extra super attacks and he builds his attack and defense the whole time.
And mine would, just because one, I love the card art, and two, I love how good defensively he can be, is the Tech SSG Goku. Every time I run any type of like Realm of Gods, movie heroes, or anything like that, like he's always one of my go-to units. So, all right, and then we got another question. What new features or units would you like added to Dokkan?
What new features or units would we like added to Dokkan? Good question.
I'm having some sound difficulties right now. I think I'm not hearing anything. So do you got the other earphone piece?
Yep, hold on. Let me get you.
Switch the ear.
Okay. Hold on just a second. We've got two.
That's
Switch. Sorry about that. Hold on. There we go.
all right. Sorry. What was the question?
It was,
I was on mute for like the last 30 seconds. I was like trying to fix everything.
Oh, no worries, you're good. Basically the question is, what new features or units would you like added to Dokkan?
Do you want to tackle that one, Social?
New features or units. Well, I say this every time. I want a really good long-haired Trunks. I don't know. It's just something I'd like to see. Mainly for aesthetic reasons. But besides that, I mean, they've been adding a lot of nice features. I don't know. I'm thinking about other mobile games that I play and Dokkan. I kind of like the way Dokkan's set up, though.
Yeah, I think the only thing for me in terms of features is offshoots and variations of how the Legendary Goku event is. I've heard about mods on, a Frieza version of it, but I think, like a Vegeta Legendary event and stuff like that would be kind of cool. Just have, similar to Infinite Dragon Ball history, just have variations of stages on that would be pretty cool in my opinion. Yeah, that's really the biggest thing in terms of units. I don't know. I would like to see more throwback units. You know, they kind of briefly did that with the Dragon Ball Saga units, and you know, units like Launch and whatnot actually getting summonable units. But you know, even a combo card like what was it, Upa, and what was the father's name?
Oh god. I can't remember.
That would be
Bora?
pretty cool. Yeah, Bora. I think you're right. So that would be kind of a cool free to play unit, just for us fans of the entire series that kind of have like a trophy. I wouldn't expect, you know, a powerful unit, but just a nice little collection item.
Very true. I think this is the first time. Well, I don't know if they agree on Garlic Jr. getting a card, but that's most likely the case. Garlic Jr.
That's usually the answer we get now. I think it's because people have watched it before.
Yeah,
They've seen
that's
it before.
Garlic Jr. at this point is our meme.
Yeah, it's definitely one that a lot of people do tend to like bring up. So that definitely does make sense.
Yeah. And
Dr. Wheelo.
yeah, Dr. Wheelo was another one.
Yeah.
So, and then also for the two of you, do you have any upcoming projects or vids you'd like to promote real quick?
I mean, people can definitely check out my recent summons because it's like the first time I think I've gotten lucky on both Dokkan Fest banners because I usually get shafted on one or the other, and like this time I had really amazing luck. So people
That's
can
because you keep alternating your luck in between.
it evens out though.
Yeah, I just had a trio summons with Truth and Nolara, and it was interesting. It's kind of a different vibe when you're summoning with two of the bigger whales in the game. So it's definitely makes things a little bit interesting. But outside of that, project-wise, I mean, I've got different types of content types that I'm thinking about, you know, implementing at some point. Just a lot of brainstorming at this point. So, you know, hopefully down the road in the near future, that'll be coming to fruition.
Yeah, and I've got a few things I'm working on, but nothing solid yet. So.
Cool. Awesome. Well, obviously, you know, we're both very thankful that you guys decided to come onto the podcast today. And with that in mind, guys, let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to talk about just some of the events that are going on Global right now. We're going to keep this part brief only because of the fact that, you know, we still got plenty of time for them. It's not like they're going away anytime soon. So let's get into it, guys. The Super Vegito EZA is still out. So if you haven't done it already, I highly recommend it, and I'm sure these guys do too. Obviously, the Legendary Challenge campaign where you could get boosted rates for the Imperfect Cell LR is still out as well. Fantastic card. I literally got both copies done in one day, so there's no reason you guys can't get it done within 2 weeks.
Because you're insane.
I tend to be.
Point that out.
I am.
I'd like to take a second and apologize to both Jin and Social for the fact that Dokkan hasn't given us enough stuff that we have, you know, for us to actually talk about today, because we've talked about literally every one of these events for 3 episodes in a row.
We have.
Yeah.
It's insane, the lack of anything that's been going on the global side.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird time, right? JP had that problem just up until recently, and it was definitely extremely dry. So I certainly understand it. It's totally understandable.
All right.
Yeah. And then, of course, obviously, we know that the summon for Android 13 is gone, but you could still get the medals for his event from the Fusion Android event. That's going to be keeping on going for about 12 days, 13 days if you round it up. We do have the story event where you can get the free-to-play, 14-15? Yeah, 14-15 for your Androids category team. And you could also get some, you know, items like swords and such. And then, of course, we still have the EZA cell out there. This is the STR cell event where you could get the 17 and 18 Awakened. And then, obviously, more story events like the Cell event, the Super Vegito event, and then, of course, we already know about Imperfect Cell. From there, we obviously have all of our other free-to-play, like the Yarjak Goku event is out still. We still have the Goku Gohan and the Vegeta Trunks events, plus the revamped Fight Against Despair is still out as well. That includes EZA areas as well. So... And then, of course, we did have, I think it was the Tech Vegeta just got an awakening as well for an EZA.
Yeah, Tech Vegeta, and then next week it's going to be in Trunks.
Yeah, those guys are very good with their easy A's, both from a offense and defense standpoint, depending on the unit. But I use them very frequently on the JP side.
Oh yeah, that's a good point, guys. I forgot to point that out. We'll have a little bit of advanced knowledge on some of these units because both Jin and Social play around on JP.
Yep.
I think you're the first guest that we have that have really played around on JP.
Oh, is that right?
I think so.
Well,
yeah.
I'll try to remember as much as I can. I don't remember obviously everything, but we'll have the cliff notes ready for that one.
You need to be on point because you're a JP representative, Jin. Come on.
Well, I might get disposition of that maybe tonight. We'll see what happens.
So, and then from there, as you guys see, the Leave It to Us Little Rangers event is still going on. We're going to tackle that just a little bit. As you can see, this event gives you the Kid Trunks, Goten, and Marin card, which awakens into this mission complete Trunks Kid, Goten Kid, and Marin, which is leader skill, physical type, Ki +2, HP attack and defense plus 30%. Super attack causes supreme damage to the enemy and causes supreme damage to the enemy with more power. SA multiplier is going up by 20% because of that. You have your passive skill, attack and defense plus 100%, and attack and defense minus 5% with each turn passed up to 50%. You got your link skills, the Innocence, More Than Meets the Eye, Budding Warrior, sorry, can't read today. Patrol, Prodigies, Hero of Justice, and Shattering the Limit. And your categories: Universal Survival Saga, Joined Forces, and Youth. What do you guys think of this card in general?
I'm going to be perfectly honest. I ran through the farming when it first hit JP. I don't necessarily run them frequently, but I think at the very least they're pretty decent free-to-play units. So I would definitely farm them up. I mean, they have their own individual orbs, right, for this event?
Yes, they do.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's definitely worthwhile to do that. I mean, you never know with Dokkan Awakenings or Easy A's that are going to happen with units nowadays, so it's definitely worthwhile to do that. I think the only thing that really hurts this unit is their attack and defense drops with every rotation or turn, right? By 10%, is that right?
Yeah, so it's up to 10 turns minus 5%.
Yeah, so I guess from a quick battle setting, these guys are pretty good because they do see a pretty significant boost within their passive, but toward the longer battles, you'll definitely see the penalties kick in a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great free-to-play unit. I used it more early on when I was still kind of building my team, so I don't use them as much now, but it's definitely great for people who are still building some of those teams.
Yeah, I mean, we're really only talking about this unit because we haven't had the opportunity to talk about it on the show before. I understand that this is a unit that came out in 2018, but, for sake of completeness,
And see,
one of the things... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Jin. It's all good.
The only thing I wanted to add on that is I think what hurts this unit a little bit is the link sets, right? Some of the links aren't as common. Of course, some of them are, like Shattering the Limit, where you can at least get that key boost based on certain units on the team, but some of them are Hero of Justice and stuff like that. I think Budding Warrior, that's common between the Goten and Trunks units or Gotenks or whatever, but some of these are a little bit hard and tricky to build a uniform team setup, but it's like Social said, it's not a bad unit at all.
They're good when you squeeze them in with a bunch of Saiyan style units.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, and just so you guys understand, they're even telling you, let's hurry up and get this over with, which means that you guys need to hurry up and farm this thing so you don't have to do it again.
Yeah.
But yes, and then of course, as stated, you can get their orbs through this event. This is also kind of if you're like me and dealing with the fact that you can't get, Baba points enough to save up for a little while, you could use this to kind of get some Baba points through it, especially with these orbs, now that you could sell them for Baba points. So to anybody who already has them awakened, but you want some extra Baba points pretty quickly, this is actually not too bad to, get.
What is it?
Yeah.
1,000 points for the character, 10 points for the large, 1 point for the medium, 1 point for the smalls.
It's 500 for the character.
Oh, is it 500 for the character? Okay.
Yeah.
So So did Global already get the update where they adjusted the exchange rate on the potential orbs? Because I know JP had it a while back where initially it was a larger amount, but they readjusted it to a lesser amount. Did that
It
take
came
place?
to global adjusted.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's the small and medium orbs are 1 per orb, and then the larges are like I think 3 per
I think
orb.
it's 10.
Or 10? Oh.
I think it's 10 for the largest. But yeah, it came to global adjusted. We didn't have that beautiful 2 weeks of being able to way over farm our Baba points.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, they already fixed the bug before it got to you guys, right?
Yeah, they made sure that.
Hashtag global chef.
Right?
So
Every episode, every single episode. Sorry, I am so anti-global chat.
that's what we do every time to troll them.
I really do believe that they are 2 separate games. JP and Global are 2 completely separate games. They each have their benefits, they each have their negatives, and I don't think one is better than the other.
I guess the way to look at it too for Global is that's the price you have to pay to have third-eye vision on the future, right?
Exactly.
That's one of the huge benefits of Global.
Oh yeah,
You
you
know?
can plan out your stones.
Yep, that's
Yeah, tickets, the buy one or buy 3 get 1 frees that we usually get, the sales, the discounts, the peel-off shop. Even though most of it's crap, there's a few things that come out great. I'm not gonna go on this diatribe again, guys. I'm sorry.
So, alrighty, and then of course, guys, we have upcoming events coming up on Tuesday. The the 28th or the 29th? 28th.
28th, yeah.
Yeah, so 28th we are getting one that we've been kind of hoping for is going to be the Extreme Z Awakening for, Merge Zamasu, which is going to be a fantastic thing. We're getting category summons for Worthy Rivals. We're getting AGL character exclusive summons where you could get the very limited Pan and the very limited Rildo. And then, of course, there's going to be Extreme Z Dokkan summons as well for the Merge Zamasu. So, what do you guys think? Since you both play JP, what did you guys think about Zamasu's Awakening?
So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of review and check what the stats were. It's been a little while for me that honestly I actually ran him on a team setup. I've been mainly running the Conquest of Terror and Transformation Boost category. That's personally my favorite at this point. So let me pull it up real fast actually and see what the stats are. I think a lot of it's maintained, but with the EZA they kind of up the percentages on the boost, right, or reduction to attack and defense on the super type enemies or something like that.
I think so. Let me double check that. Let's see. Damage threshold for 2. No. Characters from the Worthy Rivals categories.
He used to give, as his passive, attack 120%, but then attack minus 10% for all superclass allies. When they awakened him, he got attack 140%, superclass allies attack minus 10%, superclass enemies attack and defense minus 20%, extreme class Realm of Gods category ally defense 50%.
Oh, that's what that was. Additional secondary passive with the boost to the Realm of Gods category allies, right?
Yeah.
Yep. That, and then he's also debuffing the super class enemies, which he wasn't doing before, which is huge. So he's a debuffer for enemies, and he's a buffer for his for his category.
Yeah, I think a big benefit for this guy, I think not from a unit standpoint, but from the team itself, would be obviously settings like Super Battle Road. Now that JP does have Extreme Super Battle Road with the type specific additional stages, that debuff along with the boost to potentially the category allies will be pretty huge. This guy doesn't personally get a defense increase, right? It's just 140% toward attack, right?
Correct.
Yeah, 140% attack.
Yeah, so I could definitely see that becoming a little bit of a liability, but again, some of the debuff and then the category boost and then, some of the other units on the same rotation providing some sort of additional debuff as well. I mean, that could be beneficial for this guy, but yeah, I mean, it's a pretty solid EZA. Not quite to the level, to be honest, to some of the, other EZAs that extremely improved, but nevertheless, I think it's a pretty solid EZA overall.
And I'm looking forward to running it on global. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. he does get the Realm of God's defense 50% as part of his passive. So I guess technically he does have 50% defense as part of his passive, but that's still not a whole lot in today's meta.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Especially
True.
when you're sitting at a 9,000 in defense rainbowed.
Well, I mean, that's
Yeah.
9,000 without an Easy A. In the
Oh,
Easy
right,
A
without his
stats, he
Easy A.
goes up to 10,000.
Okay, that's not terrible then.
Yeah, it's not terrible, but you know, still kind of a hard thing to deal with. So, all right. So from there, we're gonna start talking about JP Golden Week. I know, guys, Global Gang Podcast talking about JP. It's kind of counterproductive, but we're gonna go ahead and get into this. So we saw that there's some summons out right now, obviously for a brand new transforming Gotenks and a revert/transforming unit, being Majin Buu reverts into Evil Buu and then transforms into Super Buu. But we're gonna go ahead and talk about the Gotenks first, guys, and you know you're gonna be hyped for this one. Special pose category key +4, HP attack and defense plus 170%, or youth category key +3, HP attack 170% and defense 130%. His super attack raises defense for 1 turn, which is about a 50% boost, and causes immense damage to the enemy. Passive skill, key +1, and attack and defense plus 100%, transform when conditions are met. So that's going to be on the 3rd turn at the start of battle. Link skills are Signature Pose, Saiyan Warrior Race, the Saiyan Lineage, the Innocence, Fused Fighter, Supreme Power, and Fierce Battle. And then the categories, which is going to be a mouthful in of itself. Fusions, Hybrid Saiyans, Majin Buu Saga, Super Saiyan 3, Transformation Boost, Youth, Super Saiyans, Last Resort, and Special Pose. What do you guys think of this so far?
So from JP's side, testing the unit out a little bit, it's definitely a very solid unit, actually extremely good. I think the thing about the 2 units you have to consider is the final, transform state, whether that's the Super Saiyan 3 or the Super Buu variation. You're not going to see that early on. They made it restricted where it's going to take a while to get to that point, but because of how powerful they are at their final state, it's kind of it kind of makes sense as to why they did that. The signature pose category, I haven't had a chance to personally test it out. I did take a look at some of the units on there. It's obviously going to be units like the ones like the Guinea Force and the heroes and whatnot. So it's going to be a little bit of a weird category in combination with the youth setup, but you could certainly make things work with that. I think the benefit is some of the units that are on those categories are going to benefit from a proper lead potentially. Maybe some didn't exist on a good leader setting, but from a unit standpoint, I mean, I've seen the Gotenks hit for like minimum 4.5 million. Then that's based on 1 super attack, and I think the condition is he's got a medium chance for additional super attack as well. So. Certainly a very powerful unit. For a long time, I think during the battles early on, you're going to see the Super Saiyan version of that, but still a good unit, especially for I would say like Battle Road, Battlefield settings. Super high chance to stun the enemy. That's always beneficial to have that, along with greatly raising defense. I see that as a pretty nice super attack setting, and then of course. You got all kinds of weird conditions based on the passive, where you get a key boost, flat attack and defense increase 100%. But on top of that, you have these high chance probabilities of attack and defense further going up, and then medium chance of additional super stuff like that. So yeah, it's a very powerful unit. I think flipping over, like Buu is more of a balanced, I think, unit with the defense and offense, but Gotenks is obviously very versatile in terms of like the teams you can build around it. So I know I kind of went off on a little tangent, but that's probably where I would place that unit.
Don't feel bad, dude. There's just a lot of this unit to cover. I mean,
Yeah, there's still a lot, and we were just covering so far just the base form of
Yeah,
Gotenks.
so since you had a chance to use him on JP, like in the first couple of turns where he doesn't transform, is he Garbo?
So I think the settings that I did test the unit out were more or less on like the tougher battles, like whether that's Infinite Dragon Ball history, like latter stages of that, or even the legendary Goku event. So like yeah, I can certainly see without the transformation taking place, like yeah, you do have that 100% to defense, but certainly could be a little bit of a liability. I think the other thing that is a little bit of a handicap for this unit before the transformations is, again, it's a base form version, so you're not necessarily going to have them link up pretty well with some of the other Super Saiyan units in the team setup. So I think that's probably the takeaway in the base form. Obviously, it becomes better once transformed, but that's probably my opinion on the base status.
And then what about you, Social Fire? What do you think so far?
I mean, I think it's a pretty nice. Are we talking about just the first form or just overall? Because
Just overall. I mean, we'll get to the rest of the unit here in a moment.
I mean, I was really excited to see this drop. Out of the two, I honestly was most excited about pulling Gotenks. So I'm looking forward to testing them out some. Now that I have them.
I'm digging that Super Saiyan Gotenks art personally.
Yeah, this art right here is fantastic, especially with the two peace signs. That's for sure.
Yeah, the double victory pose.
Yeah.
It kind of personifies the unit, right?
Oh yeah.
I should say.
All attitude flash.
The it's kind of similar in the way I look at the physical Super Saiyan Gotenks that also did get an easy A. The pose, is really what personifies the character itself. So I think they capture that greatly with this one too.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like just all these new units have just been incredible. I'm always impressed by these new units that have been coming out.
Yeah, definitely Dokkan has been stepping up its game, that's for sure. And then when it comes to the Super Saiyan Gotenks, for a super attack, greatly raises defense for 1 turn, which is a 50% boost, and causes immense damage with a great chance of stunning the enemy, which is a 70% for 2 turns. Passive skill, Ki +2, and attack and defense plus 100%. High chance of attack plus 50% with a high chance of an additional attack plus 50%, which is about 50% for that 50%. There's a lot of 50s here, and it's starting to make my brain hurt. High chance of defense plus 50%, with a high chance of an additional defense plus 50%, which is another 50% to the 50%. Medium chance, which is a 25%, thank God it's not a 5-0, of launching an additional super attack. And then transforms can be activated when HP is 70% or more, starting from the 4th turn after transformation. So after the 3rd turn for this base Gotenks, what have you guys seen with this unit?
Are you
That's
talking
what
about
Jim was saying earlier, right? Like that's where you saw him do like 4 million. Is in this.
Yeah,
form,
like
or?
well, I mean, this guy, I can't remember exactly the attack stats at this point, but yeah, the 4.5 million plus, that was in the Super Saiyan 3 state. It's kind of weird with the passive. You kind of have to take a breather on it after reading it, right? But yeah, it's kind of weird how they set it up based on its additional chances of a percentage increase where, I get what they're doing. It's kind of like, like a good way to not smudge, but kind of go about it a different way in terms of like a passive increase where we're more or less accustomed to like a flat out, additional chance of whatever percent increase toward attack and defense. It's kind of weird how it's set up. I guess the point being, it's weird to figure out how things are going to activate, right? You don't fully know how much of the passive is activating, right? So that's another weird thing about this unit. But in terms of the performance, I mean, I've had no problems with it. I think the turn, restrictions for the active skills realistic. It's not out of the realms of possibility. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. It performs fine so far. A lot of tests can be done on different settings like Battle Road and stuff like that. So I'll leave it at that.
Mm-hmm.
I get a big vibe of 60% of the time it works every time.
No, it's a 50% of the time.
I know, but when you go through and read the passive, it's like 50% chance of this happening, 50% chance of this happening, 25% chance of this happening. Like, the stars have to align and you have to sacrifice a goat in order to get this character at its absolute maximum. Like, I mean, I'm okay with it. I understand what they're doing with it. Because it kind of simulates the whole Gotenks could be the fat Gotenks, the skinny Gotenks, blah 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 blah. That's why they give them chances for stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But I want to be able to look at a unit and not have to be a calculus major in order to tell whether or not it's going to be good.
Yeah, I don't want to be running through Super Battle Road and have a calculator next to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
I don't have the attention span for that.
Oh man. And then of course we got Super Saiyan 3 Gotenks. I like this art, if anything, just because it's the triumphant, I'm the best, you can't beat me type of thing. Super attack greatly raises attack and defense for 3 turns, which is another 50%, gosh darn it, and causes immense damage with a high chance of stunning the enemy, which is at 50% for 2 turns as well. Attack and defense plus 100%, plus an additional attack plus 100% when performing a super attack, Ki plus 3, and a great chance, which is 70%, of launching an additional super for 4 turns from start of battle. Now I can definitely see why you're hitting the 4 million stat, Jin, with this card.
Yeah, and that's pretty consistent across the board. Obviously, with super attack, you get that 3-turn improvement with the attack and defense at a great rate. So obviously that helps, and you could, for 3 turns, you could potentially stack it based on the number of additional supers, whatnot, activating or whatever. But the last piece of this, where for 4 turns after getting into the Super Saiyan 3 state, Ki plus 3, super high chance of additional super attack. It can come across as limited, but think about how far into the battle it's going to take to actually get to the state. So on top of that, for 4 turns, that's a lot of turns in total. So it's you're going to be at the later parts of the battle at that point anyway. So I don't really see that as a huge issue. The pass is a little bit more straightforward, where you get a flat increase of additional attack, and you have a base attack and defense increase of 100%. So yeah, overall it's a fun unit. Like I said, I have plenty of time to test out and work out the kinks of the team builds and whatnot. But it's a very fun unit and definitely powerful.
So does this spoil anything if I ask you how many dupes you have in him?
I mean, the video's already up, so I think we're okay. I did manage to pull 2 copies, so that's I would really love to have the top left unlocked as well to get the full potential levels with the additional crits and evasion. But 1 dupe's still 1 dupe, so he's again, I got to test him out a lot, so just to see how he does with just 1 dupe. So we'll see how it goes.
Right.
Yeah, he's going to be one that I want to go for, just because of the fact that, he's got his free SA as well. Since he starts out at base form, guys, you can farm up an SA for him. So for JP players, it's the event that just came out for the Tarble again, where you could take that base form Gotenks and use him for SA fodder. So definitely do that if you haven't done it yet and you've already pulled him.
Yeah, the farm itself is actually not bad too. If you bring in the fusion category units, you do get a bonus drop rate. And I was actually doing this earlier today, and the SA card will drop pretty frequently with that setup. So if you do pull them, definitely do that. It's not worth wasting Elder Kais or whatever.
Yeah, I'm all for farmable SA.
Agreed. So, and then from there, guys, obviously we know that we also are getting awakenings for the following units. The first one being the Int Super Saiyan Goten. After awakening, it becomes a Kamehameha category, Ki plus 3 and HP attack defense plus 100%. So he's already a Kamehameha lead. Or he's an Int and physical type, Ki plus 3, HP attack and defense plus 70% lead. Causes supreme damage to enemy and raises allies' attack by 30% for 1 turn. Passive skill is attack plus 120%, reduces damage received by 40%, plus an additional attack plus 70%, and reduces damage received an additional 30% when performing a super attack if there is an ally whose name includes Trunks Kid or Krillin, youth excluded, attacking in the same turn. Link skills obviously are Golden Warrior, Super Saiyan, Kamehameha, Budding Warrior, the Innocence, Prepared for Battle, and Fierce Battle. And of course you got a mouthful of categories with Hybrid Saiyans, Majin Buu Saga, Movie Heroes, Goku's Family, Youth, Siblings Bond, Super Saiyans, and Kamehameha. Now, this unit was already pretty good at defense when it wasn't awakened. So now we've got a unit that's a lot better with defense and a lot better with attack.
Yeah, it's... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, so I put the show notes together. That's not a big secret, no big behind the scenes thing here. But seriously, when I was putting the show notes together, I didn't read any of these characters. I was just grabbing links and putting them where they were supposed to go. I wasn't doing, I'm kind of surprised by how decent this unit became.
Yeah, I perfectly agree with that. I guess first off, I know me included, a lot of people were waiting for these two units to get their Dokkan Awakening. I mean, it's been forever, and the fact that they finally did, but not only that, the improvements that came with it, it's actually ridiculous how good these units actually are. And I'll be honest with you, once I found out about these two kids being Dokkan Awakened, I was a little bit more excited than the actual Dokkan Fest units, and especially after finding out about the units. They're meant to be ran together, but you're talking about being in a type disadvantage setting on Super Battle Road and only taking, maybe 70, 80k in damage on an enemy super attack in a type disadvantage setting. That's how good these units are with that setting. So they're quite good. Well, they're actually ridiculously good. And their attack stats, they hit for like 2.6, 2.9 million. I think you could get upwards of that amount based on being on the same rotation. You really have to run them together to get the full benefit. And I guess the last thing is, the super attack does raise allies' attacks. So think about the floater position. If you have a heavy hitting unit in a floating spot in the third spot in the rotation, they're getting a pretty big boost by the time it comes around back to them.
You think it's a big enough boost where you could invest into like additional attack to benefit from the super? Do you think this unit's going to be better served by crit?
So I personally went with the Goten unit. I went with level 9 additionals, level 12 crits, and kept level 5 as evasion. It tends to work out pretty decent. I do see the additional attacks frequently enough with that setup. For the Trunks unit, I actually went with 15 additionals and level 11 with crits, and it worked out pretty fine for me. I do see additionals kick in to the point where you do see some of the higher numbers based on the benefit of what they bring with the super attack.
And what about your thoughts on that, Social? Would you agree, or do you have a different philosophy for your hidden potential?
I mean, honestly, I'd agree. I really haven't spent too much time on this unit personally. I'm in global, so I haven't paid too much attention to these awakenings, just I've been looking at them. But I definitely like seeing units like this get an awakening where they get these improvements, and it makes them a little more relevant.
I guess it depends too. How your strategy is going into events like Super Battle Road, right? Do you want those crits to activate as frequently as possible, eliminate, get that extra set of damage against the enemy and eliminate the enemy as quickly as possible, or you go with a more evened out, grounded approach of, balancing out the attack across, the units on the rotation. So I think either way you can't go wrong personally. Both the units are, as long as they're on the same rotation, they're very self-sufficient, which is kind of an oxymoron in a way, but they're good offensively, they're good defensively. Damage reduction is ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, personally, I think it's up to you how you want to go about it.
All right. Yep. And then in Goten, obviously is good, but then as they were talking about a little bit, we do have the addition of the Kid Trunks Awakening for the Super Saiyan category. Kamehameha category, Ki plus 3, HP attack and defense plus 100%. With a tech and physical type, Ki plus 3, and HP attack and defense plus 70% as its other leader skill. Super attack is causes supreme damage to enemy and raises allies' attack by 30% for one turn. Attack plus 120% reduces damage by 40%, plus an additional attack plus 70% and reduces damage received by an additional 30% when performing a super attack if there is an ally whose name includes Goten Kid and Krillin, youth excluded, attacking at the same turn. Then obviously Link skills, Golden Warrior, Super Saiyan, Kamehameha, Budding Warrior, The Innocents, Prepared for Battle, and Fierce Battle. And then obviously categories, Hybrid Saiyans, Majin Buu Saga, Movie Heroes, Vegeta's Family, Youth, Super Saiyans, and Kamehameha. So it's basically the same exact thing. I didn't see that before, so.
Yeah, they're pretty much like, I mean, they're essentially built the same way. I think initially before their Dokkan Awaken, there was some slight differences where Trunks, I think, was effectively guard based on a chance, where Goten was simply a damage-reducing unit. But yeah, with the Dokkan Awaken, they're pretty much exact, replications of each other. But I haven't personally tested out each of these individual units with Krillin. I don't know how that would necessarily work, but in my opinion, you might as well run them two together.
Yeah, they would fit well together.
I mean, there's not like a huge selection of good Krillins. I think there's 2 on JP right now.
Yeah, I was actually just looking at the LR version of Krillin, and unfortunately, I don't think they share any categories, so, doesn't really benefit from bringing a 120% lead necessarily. You could very well just, opt to run these two together versus forcing a Krillin on the rotation.
Yeah.
Right.
There is, from what it looks like, there is one Krillin on the Movie Heroes category, so you could run it on a Movie Heroes. But the Movie Heroes one is the Piccolo Krillin, basically.
Right.
I gotcha, yeah.
And then I think there might be one on the Kamehameha side as well.
I wonder when that unit, the type support units from the Baba Shop, I wonder when they'll actually get Dokkan Awakenings too, or Easy A's or whatever. That'll be interesting to talk about at some point too.
That would be.
I would love for them to have an Easy A. They're good, but they're past their prime.
Yeah, definitely.
But and then from there, guys, we do have the other Dokkan Fest unit that came out, which is the Majin Buu quotations good with the Majin Buu quotations pure evil, or you could say fat and evil Buu, or fat skinny Buu, whatever. We got a Majin Power category, Ki +4 in HP attack and defense plus 170%, or Artificial Life Forms category, Ki +3 in HP attack plus 170% and defense 130. Greatly raises attack for 1 turn, which is a 50%, and causes immense damage to enemies. Or enemy, sorry, it's not an AoE unit. Passive skill, Ki +1 attack plus 100%, reduces damage received by 40% in exchange with Majin Buu Pure Evil when conditions are met. God, I can't read today. Wow.
Words are hard.
I know.
It's a Saturday night. It's all good.
Yeah.
Exchange with Majin Buu Pure Evil starting from the 3rd turn at the start of battle. So basically the exact same thing as the Gotenks. Link skills, Majin, the Innocence, Kamehameha, Infinite Regeneration, Revival, the Wall Standing Tall, and Fierce Battle. And then categories, which is going to be a mouthful in of itself, Resurrected Warriors, Majin Buu Saga, Transformation Boost, Time Travelers, Artificial Life Forms, Kamehameha, and Majin Power. What are the initial reactions to this unit? Because I'm seeing that it's obviously going to be like good, better, best at that point when it comes to the Awakening.
Why don't we just cover what all 3 portions of the unit does, and then we'll just talk about the unit as a whole, because we're only going to spend like 1 or 2 turns with this version of the unit before you get
Exactly.
True.
I
You just want to hear me
about
stumble.
Yeah, I'm glad he brought that up because like you said, when this guy shows up, by the time he comes back around, he's already at that exchange state. You know what I mean? So that makes sense.
All right, and then when he goes to the Evil Buu, greatly raises attack for 1 turn, which is a 50% multiplier, and causes immense damage to enemy and seals super attack. Ki +2 in attack plus 150%, reduces damage received by 40%. High chance, which is a 40% to stun the enemy for 1 turn, and a medium chance, which is a 25% chance of evading enemy attack, including super attack. And then when he goes to the Super Buu, which is can be activated with 70% or more HP starting at the 4th turn. So this is almost immediate, like after the 3rd turn.
No, it's 4 turns after transformation.
Oh, okay, never mind.
So it's like turn 7.
Oh yeah, it says after exchange, my bad. So from there, greatly raises attack and defense for 3 turns, which is 50%, and causes immense damage to enemy and seals super attack. Ki +3 and attack plus 220%. Reduces damage received by 50% and chance of performing a critical hit plus 12% per rainbow key sphere obtained. So that's going to be up to 60% if you can get the long line of rainbow key spheres.
And now you see why it takes you 7 turns to get to this part.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Alright, so Jin, you're probably the only one who has any real experience with this unit, or did you not pull this one?
So, alright, so just I was unfortunately not able to pull a unit yet, but just reading, the information, and we can pretty much kind of bypass the initial state and just kind of go to the exchange function where you're probably going to see that the most. I think the biggest thing about this unit, obviously, is the fact that you do have the damage reduction capabilities, and you're talking about becoming a very good tank. You can expect very little damage taken for the most part, outside of maybe either the very extremely difficult battles against the enemy super attacks. This guy tanks very well, but in addition to that, he does get a pretty decent attack, percentage increase, and yeah, I think it's pretty well rounded, just like the Gotenks unit. You're looking at all sorts of various, skill sets combined into one. The one thing about this unit I can say for sure is how beneficial this unit would be for the extreme tech versus super agility, extreme super battle road. This guy could be, potentially an MVP, and you could potentially bring in other units, like what was it, the Demon King Piccolo that came out on JP as a free-to-play LR, if I remember correctly. That's kind of a unit that could be ran alongside that, along with a couple of the units. But all in all, I think it's a pretty good unit, and the leader skill is obviously advantageous for the artificial life forms category. I think a lot of people are expecting a leader skill like this for that category. So yeah, I mean, that's in a nutshell, without going off on too much of a deep end. That's what I would summarize it as.
Anything to add in there, Social?
I mean, I'm looking forward to testing them out. I was able to pull both units, but I haven't done much with them yet. But I mean, out of the two, like, I wanted Gotenks more, but I feel like out of the two, this guy might be a little, I don't want to say better, but probably gonna be able to use him more.
Yeah, the other thing too is, based on the amount of ki obtained, you're looking at that crit chance going up. So I guess the question is, how do you want to go about the potential system? Obviously, that's at that transformed state, so you're not really going to see that benefit until you get to that point, and chances are it'll be toward the latter part of the battle. So, I mean, that's one thing to consider, right, is how you want to go about the potential system builds. I mean, personally, I think, I don't know, based on reading the information, I mean, you could go, I guess personally for me, I would probably go 15, 11, or 12, 14 maybe. 9, 17 I might, but chances are probably I'll go with 15, 11, or 12, 14.
Yeah, I'd probably go with a fairly balanced approach with this one.
Yeah, I would probably lean a little more towards the additional side. So personally, just because he has the high chance of stunning when he's in his second form.
Mm-hmm.
And since it's only a chance, you might as well take advantage and try to get it. Plus, the greatly raises attack for one turn. It's really only beneficial if you attack twice in a turn.
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely, for my sake, I would definitely put more additional. So I'd probably go the 12-14 route myself. Just because with that 60%, what it's like 2% per point in critical. So if you're looking at 2% at a 12, that's a 24. So by the end of this, by the time you're getting to the Super Boo, you've got a pretty high chance to crit, and I would much rather have the higher chance to do an additional on top of that as well. So,
okay, so like, Social brought up a pretty good thing. Like, how do you like say which one is better than the other? Like, for me personally, I'd just cut the third transformation off. The only time you're gonna see it is if you intentionally make it happen, or if you're in a long event like Infinite Dragon Ball History or Legendary Goku. So I think for me personally, between the second form Majin Buu and the second form Gotenks, I like the Majin Buu just a little bit more.
I think that's a fair point based on the skill sets available within that second form. Yeah, I would probably agree with you. I think for me it would be more beneficial from this guy versus the other. I think I would be able to, sustain life without Gotenks over Buu. You know what I mean? That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I mean, I wanted Gotenks more for, like, I like Gotenks. It was like,
because he's a cocky bastard, right?
exactly. For more like reasons like that, but I feel like this unit's going to be more beneficial. Like I said, I don't want to say if it's better or not, but I feel like.
I mean, I guess like the way to look at it too, right, is nobody really struggles with boss rush or even the Dokkan events anymore. A lot of the key things to consider is in a tough battle road or battlefield or whatever setting. That's really or even Legendary Goku event, right? But Legendary Goku is a little bit different because of the restrictions that unit brings or enemy brings. But I think ultimately that's where you want to start judging how good of a unit is on, like examples of super battle road setting. And when you line the two up and look at the skill sets available, I mean, Buu just has like better skill sets overall that would benefit survivability, I guess, in a way.
Exactly. Because you know you get the boost in attack, you get the 40% boost or reduces damage by 40%. You get the high chance of stunning on top of that, you know, and you get the medium chance to evade as well. Like he covers basically every point that you want to cover when it comes to a unit. So
Right.
and then of course we all know that he has a farmable super as well. If you go towards here, you could farm up the Fat Boo, which is right here, can be farmed. It does drop at SR, so it's kind of a little bit of a grind, but I think it's worth, especially since it's a Dokkan Fest unit that does do pretty well. So,
I would agree with that.
so from there, guys, we get an awakening to a card that has basically become, you know, it's basically the Bergamo of AGL at this point, from what I've seen. Thrilling Battle, Majin Buu Shape Up, or as we all call him, Fit Buu. AGL type, Ki +3, and HP attack and defense plus 90%. Super attack causes supreme damage with a medium chance of stunning the enemy, which is a 30% for 2 turns. And attack and defense plus 150%, Ki +3 plus an additional attack and defense plus 150% with a high chance, which is 50%, of evading enemies' attacks, including super attacks for 7 turns from the start of battle. And then we got Link skills, the Innocence, Revival, Brainiacs, Majin, Shocking Speed, Infinite Regeneration, and Fierce Battle. And then category, Jiminy Christmas, Resurrected Warriors, Universal Survival Saga, Representatives of Universe 7, Transformation Boost, Artificial Life Forms, Worthy Rivals, and Majin Power. Oy vey.
Worthy rivals? Really?
Worthy Rivals.
No, stop, just for a second here. You're telling me that we're gonna put Majin Buu in his fit form as a worthy rival for Goku? Like, his relationship with Goku is on the same level as people like Piccolo and Vegeta? Like,
I mean, they're gym homeboys, you know what I mean? So,
okay, sorry. I know that Dokkan has its category issues. Like, but this just, I don't know. I don't need to go off on that tangent. I'm pretty sure anybody who watches the show knows how I feel about that.
yeah, the category setups are definitely a little bit crazy in the Dokkan world. So I certainly see where you're coming from. I think, you know, worthy rivals, like, you kind of look at it from a definitive standpoint a little bit differently than a unit like this being on there. So, you know, I see where you.
I mean, I guess I could be the advocate and say they did have that little sparring session, and Goku did acknowledge it. So I guess, in a way...
So what we're saying is Majin Buu beat the crap out of Goku?
No, Majin Buu Shape Up beat Goku. It wasn't Fat Buu.
Look, he worked out. He got in shape. So I guess they had to respect that. So they had to put him as a worthy rival. Let's just call it a day with that.
You lose all that fat gelatinous pink stuff and you're worthy.
Like, welcome to the gym membership of Worthy Rivals. You good now? Welcome, homie.
I will say, though, that now that this unit's got an awakening and it's a very, very good unit from what I'm seeing, I might just end up actually rainbowing this unit like I did with Bergamo.
Yeah, I don't think it's a mistake to do that. The stats alone on paper will tell you how crazy it is. The only thing, I guess, is, you know, it's a 7-turn restriction, I guess. You know, obviously you want the quick and I wouldn't say easy, but quick battle settings, right, to fully take advantage of this guy. But the amount of attack and defense percentage you're looking at within those 7 turns, plus you get that Ki +3, and also high chance of evading enemies' attack. I mean, that pretty much has everything you want. So, you know, it's kind of this guy's made for sprint sessions more or less than marathons. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a mistake to necessarily rainbow this unit. I would, or I already did, I should say.
Yeah, of course you did.
So, 7 turns doesn't seem too bad from my perspective. I don't know how it is on Super Battle Road or whatever it's called. But on regular Super Battle Road, for the most part, you're not going to be in there for 7 turns, so you can treat that as kind of your quick and dirty, you know.
Yeah,
I think you'll be okay there.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. This unit really is a good candidate to be tested out on that new Extreme Super Battle Road testing. I haven't had a chance to do that, but given the skill sets within that, yeah, like you said, I think 7 turns, depending on the team you bring. I mean, you could get through the nitty gritty, and maybe this guy will be plowing through the field and evading attacks left and right, So yeah, I could see that happening. It's crazy, right? Because if you consider the super attack on top of the passive alone, he's got a medium chance of stunning the enemy too. So it's pretty wild how much of a treatment this guy got with the upgrade.
Yeah, he definitely got a boost. Huge boost.
I was just extremely happy to see that he got an awakening because, I'm pretty sure I speak for most Dokkan players that when we looked at this unit when it was first released, we just kind of went, why? Why is this even coming out? Is this just for, is this just a trophy, I guess? Hooray, yes, summoned a Fit Boo, congratulations. But now that it's actually got an awakening, and it's the same thing with Bergamo, you would get Bergamo and it was just a meme. Now, now it gives me hope for all the other units that desperately need an awakening that deserve something or other. So, I'm definitely happy with it. I love that its ability is short, sweet, to the point, and yeah, Jin is right. It's meant for those short battles. So,
I mean, you can really never discount any unit now because you don't know who's going to get an awakening. Like, I remember pulling Trollhorn one time, like, oh god, this guy, and now he's pretty good.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I personally keep SRs, like every SR and higher, because I've seen units that are SRs that get awakenings that then you can, get multiple copies and rainbow them, and I advocate that a lot, like just save everything. Sure, it kind of sucks when your box space is full and you've got a whole box full of SRs they haven't done anything with, but I'd rather have a box full of SRs that I'm not doing anything with, and then when they introduce an awakening, be ready for it.
Yeah, this is why my box is always full, because I get anxiety about clearing out items or units, and then what if they get an insane awakening or something?
Yeah, obviously I have to manage my box space, so I can't do it for every, unit available in a SR rarity, but here's a good example of what basically I share the same mentality with you with, is my 3rd or 4th oldest unit in my deck since starting playing is the Agility SR Super Saiyan Bardock, right? And for whatever reason, I just continued to level up the SA every time I would get a copy of that unit and just kept them. And years later, you find out that he Dokkan Awakens into a Super Saiyan 3 state, and he's actually pretty decent. So, you never know when things like that will happen. So, as it might be a luxury in a way to keep a lot of the SRs, but I perfectly understand what you mean.
Yeah.
That's highly true. So, and then from there, guys, we get the awakenings to 2 more free-to-play cards, which is fantastic, and these come from what we were talking about before with the free-to-play farm for the base form Gotenks. First up is obviously Brotherly Reunion Tarble. Becomes a Siblings Bond category key plus 3 HP attack and defense plus 50% lead, or all types, found a typo, all types key plus 3 in HP attack and defense plus 30%. Super attack causes supreme damage to enemy and raises allies attack by 25% for 1 turn. And then of course the passive skill changes STR key spheres to AGL key spheres and attack and defense plus 60%. Chance of evading enemies' attack, including super attack plus 30% when there are another 2 or more Vegeta's family category allies on the team, and siblings category allies key plus 2 and attack and defense plus 20%. Link skills are Saiyan Warrior Race, Royal Lineage, Brainiacs, the Saiyan Lineage, Respect, Cold Judgment, and Shattering the Limit. And then categories, wow, that's short. Pure Saiyans, Vegeta's family, and Siblings Bond. Thank God I didn't have to read like a paragraph of just categories.
For sure.
Oh my jeebus. But this isn't a bad unit. It's obviously niche for Vegeta's family and Siblings Bond, but honestly I like it. It's a decent support unit. or at least that's
Yeah, for sure.
what I think.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think, yeah, it's a good alternative, right? Because within a pure Saiyan setting, or even, yeah, I mean, pure Saiyan setting, you have that Super Saiyan 2 Angel Goku that pretty much changes the same type of key, strength key over to agility key. So definitely a good alternative option for that. And like you said, it's a niche card for the Vegeta's family and sibling spawn because they tend to, benefit that from the most. But he's also on pure Saiyan, so there are variations of units that could potentially fall into that category from the other two. So, I mean, it's funny because I haven't had a whole lot of chance to look through in detail on the skill sets, but it's jam packed with a lot of stuff. I guess the only thing is, with the super attack, right, raising allies' attack by 25% for one turn. Do you use this guy as a floater to mainly serve as a support, or do you put him in the midpoint position or first slot? Like, how do you go about using that? I guess it depends on how you want to run the team, but those are things to definitely consider. But as a unit, pretty solid.
I can't wait until November when I put this guy on a team for Legendary Goku. I'm gonna say that about every unit on the list, most likely. But no, seriously, like, I like playing Vegeta's family against Legendary Goku, and whereas this guy doesn't stack his defense, and his defense is kind of garbage for that event, I think with items, it's not going to be an issue, but I think he could just be a lot of fun for that team.
Yeah, it definitely will make things quite interesting with the inclusion of this unit on a Vegeta's family team for sure.
Yeah, and I've got to say, I think we were talking about this before we started. I like seeing characters like this getting some love in the game too.
So what does that chance of evading enemies' attack percentage-wise equate to? Or what? Hold on, am I reading this correctly? Chance of evading enemies' attack, including super attack, plus 30% when there's two more. Okay, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay,
So
gotcha then.
has to be on a Vegeta's
Weird that they
family
put the
team.
plus 30% in the passive description.
Yeah, that's very
Probably
strange.
The chance of evading, they don't do that.
Yeah, it's kind of. I was reading it earlier. I'm like, hold on, how am I reading this correctly? But I guess the question you would ask yourself, right? And this is a question to you guys: like, how would you go about the potential level build? Because one side you would want to go additionals, right, with the super attack support to the allies, but the other piece is like, is this guy purely a support where you could potentially end up, giving this guy a mix between additionals, crits, and evasion, right? What would you guys think personally?
I think for me, it's kind of difficult because you don't get a boost in additional attacks or critical hits. So I think I would just go like, traditional, probably like, I would probably go critical, to be honest, just because his super attack, it's not an infinite stacker. It's only for the one turn. So really, you're just going to get that 25% for that one super attack. So I'd rather be able to hit a little bit harder with a crit.
But it raises allies attack by 25%. So if you get the additional, then you get the double raise for your allies for the rest of the turn if you're running him early in the rotation.
Yeah, and I guess that's ultimately the question, right? Is position-wise, where would it make most sense to run the unit? And on top of that, this just ultimately comes down to like how you want to run the team itself.
Yeah.
Well, how you run the unit is you just stick him in the trophy shelf with the rest of the free-to-play units. No, I'm kidding. I don't know if I would make this guy a first or second slot character. He lacks defense for the events that I would run him on. But at the same time, I like to have multiple supports on my team, so that way if I want to, I can always have a floating support unit. Like, every floater is a support unit.
Yeah, and I'm kind of the same mix. I would probably tend to run him that way too. I don't want to give up my first, second positions just for this guy necessarily.
Yeah, that's my thing, is that, I wouldn't want to put him in those first two slots just because of his defense. Especially since, like, in harder events, you're getting hit multiple times. So you gotta be careful, and that's 2 out of the 3 spots where he's gonna get hit.
Can you imagine though, like a team, like a super agility team with this guy included? You have your Super Saiyan 2 Angel Goku, who's also an orb changer of the same type, but also the LR Spirit Bomb absorb Goku and like have all these orb changing units just like running amok. I wonder how that would work out in terms of like, you know, feasibility of the team itself.
It really comes down to how they show up in rotation.
Yeah.
So like the first unit that shows up, if Tarble's the first one that shows up, he'll change the strength to agility, and then whoever shows up in the second slot will do their thing, and then so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And there's no real way to control which way they show up when they come up, so it would be a difficult thing to do, but I think it'd be a lot of fun to try.
Yeah, it might be one of those Russian roulette style plays, right?
Right. Take that against Legendary Goku.
That might be an interesting.
What my orbs are gonna be.
Yeah, try that out when it comes out of Global and let me know how that goes.
I probably will.
So, and then from there, obviously, we get the new awakening for Gotenks, the base form one from that same event. Fusion category, key +3 in HP, attack, and defense +50%. Causes supreme damage to enemy and greatly lowers defense, which is a 50% for 3 turns on the super attack. And then his passive skill, attack and defense +90% when performing a super attack, launches an additional attack that has a medium chance, which is a 25% chance, to become a super attack when facing only one enemy, plus an additional attack and defense +40% when the target enemy is in defense down status. So that's going to be pretty good if you want to run additional supers on that. Link skills, Saiyan Warrior Race, the Saiyan Lineage, the Innocence, Shocking Speed, Fused Warrior, Over in a Flash, and Shattering the Limit. Categories, Fusions, Hybrid Saiyans, Youth, and Special Pose. Now, definitely with what I just said, you definitely want to have the ability to possibly do additional supers constantly, just because you're going to be doing more damage on that second super.
Yeah, I mean, as far as awakenings for units go, he's decent. I mean, this one doesn't blow my doors off quite like the Boo one does, but I don't know. He seems like a decent unit.
And when you said Boo, are you talking about the Slim Boo, or?
Yeah, the Fit Boo. Sorry, I forgot that we're talking about multiple Boos in this episode.
I guess my take on this would be, well, first off, the card art is actually pretty nice once the awakening took place. That's one of the first things I noticed. I think from a free-to-play standpoint, this definitely is pretty good. I think this would help out a lot of players from a free-to-play standpoint, but also for those that didn't necessarily pull the Dokkan Fest new Gotenks unit. I think this will be a good consolation prize for that. You know, greatly lowers defense as part of the super attack, obviously beneficial, and if, you know, he's basically serving his own purpose by having that skill set in the super attack and then having a condition where additional additional attack and defense increase of 40% when target's enemy is defense down. So, you know, the built-in medium chance to stun or not stun, but having an additional super attack, and depending on how you go about it with the potential levels, it's kind of it's an interesting character to say the least. But from a free-to-play standpoint, I think it's you know, it's pretty decent. I could see a lot of people benefiting from it.
Yeah, I mean, one nice thing about this unit that I like too, and I don't know if it's just me or not, but Fusion and Hybrid Saiyans were two of those teams. Just building my net attack, it was really hard to get like decent units for it. So, I like having a free-to-play unit like this, especially if people are newer to the game.
You know, if I were to do this right, in terms of writing up the passive skill sets, I think I would have much rather preferred similar to, I think it's the Tech World Tournament base form Gotenks, right? The one that's a support type unit to allies on the team, right? I think I would have probably preferred a skill set like that versus a unit like this, where it's, I wouldn't say it's a standalone, but it has its own, you know, skill sets to be. It's more or less offense and defense versus purely support. So, you know, the Fusion category could have used another supporting type role, I think, on that category. But, you know, it is what it is, and what they produce is pretty good.
Definitely, and what I find really, really fun about it too is that now with this unit and the units to come, you know, this is just giving us more free-to-play teams to work with, because before it was mainly you just wanted to run either Ginyu Force or Pure Saiyans, or just recently, you know, Team Bardock as free-to-play. now we're getting like almost a full Fusions free-to-play team. We're getting almost a full, well, we've had a full one before, but now we're getting units that really benefit a hybrid Saiyans free-to-play team. You know, so it's really cool, and I highly recommend to free-to-play players to definitely go after a lot of these units, because these units are going to help you compared to, you know, always summoning with the minimal amount of stones that you have and getting nothing. You know, capitalize on the fact that these are free to play. Even for pay to play players, these are still very good to get. And then also it gives you something to do when you say that you don't have anything to do, my fellow whales.
Yeah, that's the general rule of thumb, right? Is when these events are available, you don't necessarily need them, but farm them anyway. What's the harm in doing that, right? I mean, that's the way I look at it too. And there is going to be a time when units like these are going to benefit whatever team you end up running. So might as well have options.
Right.
My favorite example is Extreme Z areas.
Mm-hmm.
There hasn't been a single one yet that's thrown me for a loop because I keep everything. I farm up all my
exactly.
plays, you know.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, it's really funny. That is a good example of that. That is actually a perfect example of that, because of I remember how pissed off people were about the limitations, but you know, you and we had those units because we kept them, and you know, I rainbowed a few of them because of, you know, like, I like to troll every now and then, right? I like to rainbow obscure units for the hell of it, but yeah, that's good. That's a good example of that. I mean, do it anyway. You know, farm them anyway. You might need them.
Exactly. And this Golden Week celebration, guys, with the Dokkan Fest and everything, and the revamps, is a very, very good week on JP, and will be, you know, for us global players that are maining on global, because we are getting these two units that we just talked about, the Tarball and the Gotenks, and we're getting 3 new TUR free-to-play units in basically the family trio. Starting out with Angel Goku, Hope for Prosperity, other warrior, or the, Jesus.
Words are hard.
That's a tough word to call it. I get it screwed up sometimes too. I ain't gonna lie.
Other World Warriors. Category key +3. An HP attack and defense +50%. Super attack causes supreme damage with a medium chance of stunning the enemy, which is a 30% chance for 2 turns. Passive skill, defense +70%, attack +120% for 7 turns from the start of turn, and high chance, which is a 50% chance of evading enemies' attacks, including super attacks, starting from the 8th turn from the start of battle. Plus an additional attack and defense +59% when there is an ally whose name includes Goten Kid attacking in the same turn. Goku's family category allies key +1 and attack and defense +20%. We got the Link skills, Saiyan Warrior Race, the Saiyan Lineage, all in the family, Kamehameha, Experienced Fighters, Supreme Power, and Shattering the Limit. Categories: Resurrected Warriors, Majin Buu Saga, Pure Saiyans, Goku's family, Kamehameha, and Other World Warriors. Just want to make sure to slow down on that so I don't spin out of control. The one thing I could say that I'm happy about with this unit is Baba makes an appearance. Look at Baba over there.
Yeah, I see her.
That's all well and good. It's beautiful, but the SSR art should have been the TUR art, in my opinion, because that's some of the greatest art in the game. Like, if you go back to his base form, I love that art with him and Goten.
This is adorable.
I love it.
And then Goten's card is also very good at the SSR state, right? I think that was the other one.
And then we will get to
with Chi-Chi.
Yeah, he's like he's got his
He's all
he's
pouty
like,
faced.
yeah, exactly. So it's like the 2 cards, you know, it almost would have been, I wouldn't say better, but if it was flipped, you know, it would have been kind of befitting of the nice little throwback. We all remember that little scene, you know.
Very true. And then also this unit can be farmed as well with, you know, the Goku from the Other World Warriors event, where you can get the PyCon hats, or the basically the beginner story event where you can get the Other World Goku as well from there. What do you guys think of the passive skill? I mean, I'm digging the fact that he gets the defense boost and the attack boost for 7 turns, but you don't get to touch the other stuff until the 8th turn after. So
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I guess the question I'm asking myself, right, and you brought a good point of the different ways you can farm the same name card. Is it actually easier to go through this with having to exchange, you know, the high quality chocolate for copies, or is it better to go to that other event with, what is it, Pycon or Pykugon,
Yeah.
whichever pronounced, but it's kind of a good question. I haven't really started the farm on these guys yet, but it's an interesting question. I don't know the answer to that, so I'm throwing that back over to you guys, I guess.
so so does this come from a story event? Is what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, the problem with this event is kind of weird. Typically in an story event setting, the cards would drop right in the stages. In this case, you actually, I think, have to exchange the high quality chocolates that drop for a copy of the card, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's how the system works. Whereas traditionally, it's you get the card drop, but maybe the awakening medals are available in the Baba shop to exchange it with whatever, you know, items there are in the event. But if I'm not mistaken, even for the copies of the units, you do have to use the high quality chocolate for it.
That's kind of.
He costs one high quality chocolate at the Baba shop.
Oh, well, that's not too bad then, unless the drop rate for the high quality chocolates are bad.
Yeah, I don't necessarily know the answer as to how frequently they drop. So, you know, I thought it might be a worthwhile question to ask, but probably doesn't matter. We're gonna farm it anyway.
I would say farming the unit is probably going to be better for your super attack, because I'm looking at the stage right now, and it says that the chocolate shares a drop rate with a training item, and the drop rate is 0 to 1. So you might get a chocolate, you might get a training item, you might get nothing.
Yeah, it's probably worth it. Is it. So I can't remember on top of my head, but is there a bonus based on a category or team?
Majin Buu Saga.
Oh, okay.
That makes
Well,
sense. So yeah, I guess it's a no-brainer. Just farm it here. Why not, right?
That's true. I had completely forgot it was a free-to-play unit for a second, even though I just said it like 5 minutes ago that it was going to be a free-to-play unit. But that is true. You don't really need to go to any other event to farm it. You could just farm it from, you know, the chocolates, because the chocolates don't seem like it's going to be too bad of a drop rate.
However, you did bring a good point. Maybe the drop rates are actually better for this Angel Goku on this event versus the other, right? Let's say it's the script is flipped. You might be better off going through this event to farm some of the other units that you know you need to awaken or something. You know, so you could flip the script a little bit.
It really comes down to your luck, really. I mean, are you going to have good enough luck to get it with the bonus category?
Yeah.
Or is the Goku from the other event without a bonus category going to be better?
Yeah.
Very true.
I mean, the unit itself seems pretty solid. Yeah, I mean, you're looking at high octane battle at the beginning, and then just bobbing and weaving after that. You know, but you do get that additional, you know, attack and defense increase when you know certain conditions apply and categories get a boost. So, yeah, it's again, I haven't tested this myself yet, so it'll be interesting to see how this unit does on some of the setups. Let me look at the links. I guess the links aren't too bad. You know, I always do like it when they at least have Shattering the Limit. You know, Key +2 is always beneficial to have. Along with that, Experienced Fighter is pretty good, pretty common stuff. All in the Family, you know, you could definitely find a lot of units with that. And Saiyan Warrior Racing, I guess all these outside of Supreme Power are pretty common links for the type of team you would run for this unit. So yeah, I guess it's solid for a free to play.
The one thing that I like about certain units, and maybe this is just like because I like chaos in the sense, I love it when a unit will switch its ability after a certain amount. Like, okay, well, you're gonna have this for now, but then boom, now it's switched. Because for me, like, I don't know what it is. I don't understand why I'm this crazy, but I love to panic. And if I'm using this card for more than 7 turns and the ability swaps, then my critical thinking is gonna kick in, and I'm like, okay, I need to think about this for a second, because this is gonna hurt more than I thought, or oh, now this ability's changed, so now I gotta swap everything back to where it's back to a different like type of setup. So for me, I dig stuff like this. It's definitely not bad abilities, but obviously for me, I would use this on a free to play Goku's family, especially with the 2 units that we'll be talking about here shortly.
Yeah, it sounds like you tend to like organized chaos. Is that a right assumption to make here?
Basically, I love organized chaos, and it's so much fun. So from there, I guess, since there's not much to talk about with him, we're going to go into a new free-to-play Gohan card. Hybrid Saiyans category Ki +3 and attack and defense +50%. Super attack raises attack by 30% for 99 turns, so this is an infinite stacking attacker. And causes supreme damage to enemy. Passive skills, attack and defense +58%, plus an additional attack and defense +58% with a high chance, which is 50%, of launching an additional super attack when there is a Goku's Family category ally, self-excluded, attacking in the same turn. Goku's Family category allies Ki +1 and attack and defense +10%. Link skills, Saiyan Warrior Race, the Saiyan lineage, all in the family, shocking speed, power bestowed by God, supreme power and shattering the limit. Categories, Hybrid Saiyans, Majin Buu Saga, Goku's Family, Siblings Bond, and Revenge. I definitely like this unit just because, one, you get a new Ultimate Gohan. I like the card art. And two, I like being able to have something to farm the base form Gohan team. So now we got this to farm up supers for that card.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid unit overall. I guess this is just more or less a personal preference of mine, but I really wish they would have kept the SSR outfit instead of switching it into an Ultimate Gohan unit. That's just, I think for me, we have a fair amount of Ultimate Gohan units. It's almost like a miniature version of the Intelligence version, with the Easy A, and that version has the greatly raised attack ability and some additional skill sets behind it. But yeah, I mean, the name obviously changes from the SSR to the TUR state, but the unit itself, I mean, yeah, it's the stacking abilities, a nice touch. The 58% is obviously forced in with the play on numbers with the name, but high chance of additional supers. I mean, based on conditions, I mean, you can't really complain. I mean, he gets a decent enough boost. Again, I think it really depends on just getting down to testing the unit out on some of the settings and see how it actually performs versus looking at it through just from a paper setting. So that's probably the best I can do in terms of an opinion on the unit so far at this point.
Right, I'm seeing here. I haven't tested him out personally either, but I think it overall looks like a pretty solid free-to-play unit. I'm definitely looking forward to trying him out.
I'm just wondering.
He's an Ultimate Gohan, right?
I'm just wondering why they only gave a 10% to the allies. I mean, it's just like, they could have went with at least 20% maybe,
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was like, it's nice to get a boost. Been better.
It is a little weird.
Ki 1 10% is kind of strange. Like, I would think you would see Ki 2 10%, but
yeah,
it does feel like an awkward thing.
Yeah, it just kind of came across as a little bit odd, like Ki +1 could surprisingly be pretty beneficial, and obviously when you have, very high attack stats at that point, an additional 10% could make a pretty big difference, yes, but from a labeling standpoint of a passive skill, I thought it was kind of weird a little bit, but not much else to kind of overthink it.
Overall, this unit, just in my opinion, just from the passive skill, while yeah, it's a little weird for the 1 key and attack and defense was 10%, like, I'm gonna dig it on a free-to-play Hybrid Saiyans, like if I'm going into one of the Prime battles or anything like that, because, obviously the links are, the links, especially for Goku's Family, and even with Hybrid Saiyans, since most of them are either Gohans or Gotens or Gotanks, they're gonna link up fairly easy. And, just having another free-to-play Hybrid Saiyans lead for me is fantastic. So.
Yeah, I think, from a free-to-play standpoint, it definitely does make sense that, this unit will be definitely pretty solid. The only thing I don't like about these units is I'm not really a big fan of the power bestowed by Godlink skill. I wish, it was something else. I get why it is, but it doesn't, at this point, in the current state of Dokkan, attack increase to 2500 does It just doesn't seem that beneficial, but it is what it is.
Yeah, those flat attack boosts don't really do as much anymore.
That's very true. So, and then from there, guys, we have one more free-to-play unit, and this is one we were talking about before with the lovely, art we'll get into here in a second. But we got a Technique Taught by Dad Goten, getting ready for the fusion of Gotenks here. Youth category, key +3 and HP attack and defense +50%. Causes supreme damage to enemy and lowers attack, which is a 20% drop for 3 turns. Attack and defense +70%. Goku's family category, allies key +1 and attack and defense +30%, plus an additional key +3, and all allies attack and defense +10%. When there is an ally whose name includes Goku Angel or Trunks Kid attacking in the same turn. Link skills are Saiyan Warrior Race, the Saiyan Lineage, All in the Family, the Innocence, Budding Warrior, Supreme, Power, and Shattering the Limit. And categories, we got Fusions, Hybrid Saiyans, Majin Buu category, Goku's Family, Youth, and Siblings Bond. And then, of course, we were talking about this funny art of Goten right here with Chi-Chi, and you can see he's got the little blushy face. Look at him, he's so adorable. He's so cute.
Seriously, I might get a second copy of all 3 of these units just for their base form art.
That's
That
what
might not be a bad idea.
Like, I'm not generally one to do that, but like on my old account, I did it when Namek, the Kid Gohan from Planet Namek came out because he was in the Superboy outfit.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't get it to Super Attack 10 or anything. I just farmed up 1 extra copy just to have the art in my box.
Yeah, I absolutely love this card art, like SSR form and your form. It's probably one of my favorites out of the free-to-play units that we looked at.
I guess the one thing I'm wondering, right, with this particular unit is the restriction of having the same units in the, in the same turn, right? You've got Angel Goku and then Kid Trunks. The Super Saiyan version of Kid Trunks does not fall into that criteria, right? Otherwise, they would,
If it says Super Saiyan Trunks, and then in parentheses it says Kid, then yeah, because it just says ally whose name includes. So Super Saiyan 2 Angel Goku is going to count, like Goku Angel, whatever. Or Super Saiyan Trunks Kid would count.
Got it. Okay, well, with that being said, and the clarification on that, I think what I want to do and test out is have the double unit rotation of Super Saiyan Goten and Super Saiyan Trunks, and have this guy in a floater spot and see what that does to the entire rotation. I think that'll be pretty interesting to test out.
That would be pretty interesting to test out.
I mean, that's what Goku's family category allies key +1, attack and defense increase 30%, plus an additional key +3, allies attack 10% toward attack and defense. So at least Trunks would still get somewhat of a benefit as well, on top of Goten getting the full benefit. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what kind of rotation that ends up working out. But this guy defensively might be a little bit of an issue, especially on something like Super Battle Road, but it'll be interesting to see how it does.
True. I mainly just like the unit only because of the fact of the card art, so I'm definitely with Alec on that, where in all honesty I might just farm up enough of the copies, but for me, I can't have a unit locked in my box without at least getting the super attack up, so I'll probably be the guy that's gonna be super attack, or
You're gonna
leveling
go
up
for
the
Super Attack 10, what's 4 more units to unlock the past, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna go SA10, unlock all the paths, just in case I get a fit where I'm like, okay, I need to rainbow this unit too. Times. So. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's always good to have options. Maybe a easy A will happen, and you have 2 different variations you could build based on what happens.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
True. And a nice segue for this, because of the fact that this is Goten, we do have our chat discussion topic for today. And honestly, this is one that I'm actually kind of happy about. As we know, LR Trunks and Goten got added to the Fusions category, and we're talking about the LR Mighty Mass that would awaken into LR Goten and Trunks. So the discussion for today is, are changes to units after their initial release a good thing? What do you all think about that?
I would say it is. I mean, I actually like seeing those additions after they come out because, like I said, it does keep them more relevant and kind of keep them updated.
Sorry, I was had to check something real fast.
No, you're fine.
We're talking about changes to units after they've been released.
I mean, honestly, I think it's fine giving a little bit of a space. As obviously more time progresses within the game, the mechanics and dynamics change a little bit. So I think instead of getting a Dokkan Awaken immediately or shortly after, like the Super Saiyan Goten and Trunks are a good example. It's been a while since they were released, right? And because of how long it took for the Dokkan Awaken, they became very good. Whereas, you know, if they came out with a Dokkan Awakening 6 months to a year after their release, the skill sets would have been quite different, and maybe we're still waiting on an EZA for them. So, it's good and bad, I guess, is the best way to put it. It makes them more current.
Okay, just to clarify the question a little bit. So, it's not necessarily about giving units awakenings. That's just a building block of the game. But like, recently, LR Trunks and Goten got added to the fusion category. They didn't get an awakening, they didn't get an EZA, they didn't get anything. They were just, all right, just now randomly after a couple of years, we're going to put this unit on the fusion category.
Okay, so the question was more or less related to like updates on a unit, right?
Yeah, after their initial release, are changes to these units a good thing?
I should have been more clear on that. My apologies on that.
Oh, no, it's fine. I was making the mistake of multitasking, so the fault's mine. So, with that being said, I mean, it's, for me, I guess it's a good thing because the developers aren't perfect by any means, and instead of making a mistake and being stubborn about making the right changes or updates needed, I'd rather them just fix it. Everybody wanted LR Goten and Trunks, for example, to be on the fusion category, and it took them this long. Kind of shows, you know, the stubbornness a little bit, but nevertheless, they still made the update. So, you know, that and like, I don't know if this necessarily applies, but the super attack animation to the intelligent Super Saiyan 2 LR Gohan, that was a nice little touch. I don't know if this is directly related to the conversation by any means, but you know, updates.
It absolutely can be.
Yeah, and I think updates are fine. I mean, if we're talking about the same thing, I think it's okay for that to happen, in my opinion.
I feel like it shows that they're listening to some point, because these are things that people are talking about wanting on certain units, and eventually we do see them implemented into the game, which is nice too.
Yeah, I will say one thing though. I don't think you can do it the other way around though. You can't just have categories included on a unit and then take them away. That would be kind of bad.
Yeah.
There would be bits.
Yeah, they would get a lot of negative feedback on that one. Rest assured.
Yeah. Definitely want to see more like positive stuff like that, to where you see more additions, especially since, you know, taking those two into account, the, you know, LR Goten Trunks being on the fusions category, that is something that people question, you know, a lot in, you know, Reddit and Twitter. Like, why wouldn't this card be considered a fusions card when in his super attack or any of the parts of the super attack they fuse? And then on top of that, you know, we did have the fiasco with the bad essay that, you know, or sorry, not bad, outdated essay of the LR Gohan int that got updated, which, you know, a lot of people really wanted to see an update for. And, you know, personally for me, I see that this is going to be something that will be beneficial to, you know, the community as a whole, seeing that they pay attention and are like, okay, let's do this. So
I think the one thing that I have a problem with here, and I was really hoping Trevor was going to be here, because apparently Trevor wanted to go off on this. He didn't think the fusions change was a good idea, and I didn't ask him why. I asked him to hold it for the show, and then he wasn't able to make it. So I really wish I would have picked his brain. But so our logic here is that LR Trunks and Goten fuse in their super attack, and therefore that puts them on the fusion category, right? So physical Trunks that came out with Android 13 goes Super Saiyan in his super attack. Why isn't he on the Super Saiyan category?
I mean, maybe that's a change we'll see them add in later on. I don't know. Like...
Yeah, I think you're talking about Pandora's box here. Do you really want to open it?
That's what I'm saying is you make one change, even from the developer's aspect. They make one change, and they justify it with some form of logic, you can use that logic to start the slippery slope.
Yeah, no, I kind of, I see what you're saying, and there are a lot of, questions around that. Yeah, I mean, you can get to the point where you're talking about, a unit at a current state, that current state only exists because of other previous states. Shouldn't they technically be on those states too, or categories? So yeah, I mean, it opens up a lot of questions. Yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily know the answer to that. I don't know what direction they would necessarily go. Are they going to do this more going forward, or is this just a special anomaly with these two, or these two guys on the same LR Gohan or Goten and Trunks because of how much people have been talking about it? I don't know. I don't necessarily know the answer to that one.
I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see if they start adding this stuff in. I mean, the game's been out for like 5 years, and there's always going to be changes like that can be made.
I will.
What do you think?
I will say, like, I'm happy about it per se, but that also kind of ties in with there's always the transforming units as well that are put into different categories. Like as we saw with the Go Tanks, it starts out base form, but in base form it's in the Super Saiyan 3 category. Same with the transforming Goku. I don't know. I could see later on them adding units like that to like the categories, so long as like it's in their or not in their transformations, but in their super attacks. I could see it happening, per se.
And me personally, I'm okay with it. Like, they want to throw out the justification that they do their fusion in a super attack and that puts them on the fusion category. That's fine. I just want them to be consistent with that logic. I mean, another example of units that got changed after they released were the exchanged Goku, Gohan, and Vegeta Trunks. They got added to Pure Saiyans, a few weeks after they released or whatever.
Yeah.
And to me, I like that change, except for Gohan and Trunks aren't Pure Saiyans. So when you switch, then they're still Pure Saiyans and they're affected by Pure Saiyan stuff. I understand that you can't take a category away in the system. It's limited. I understand all that. It's just, I want to be consistent with things. I mean, like, you hear it like when Truth puts out a video, like every other video he has, he's talking about how, some category is terrible and needs an update, or this needs an update, or this category needs help. And we'll probably transition into this a little bit during the Q&A here in a minute, but like with the 2 new categories that came out, they don't really make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, I understand like why, like the formation of the categories, but I don't understand why we needed them in the game when we already have 45 other categories, half of which need some serious support.
Yeah, I mean, like, the boost side, I can certainly see that. The Majin Power and Artificial Life Forms, that could easily work. However, Signature Pose and Youth combination, like the dual category lead, I mean, you asked, you kind of nailed it. Do we even need that, So, some of it doesn't make sense. It could be writer's block on the developer side running out of categories, but, I mean, I don't know, like, I personally thought that we would get at least one of the units out of the 2 would bring the, Majin Buu Saga upgraded leader skill. Some people said, these units aren't necessarily befitting of an upgraded leader skill setting for the Majin Buu Saga, but I mean, that would have made more sense to me personally, but who knows what they're thinking.
Like, it would have been the perfect opportunity to take Buu and make him a Majin Buu Saga lead. Like, I seriously think Buu, there needs to be a Buu as a Majin Buu Saga lead.
Yeah.
It's named after him.
Yeah.
I mean, Cell's the leader of the Android Cell Saga,
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, plus we don't have an extreme version of that category for a leader,
Right.
Yeah. And no offense, but Super Vegito with his leader skill is good, but it definitely needs an update compared to some of the Dokkan Fest that we've gotten recently. And I was actually kind of upset that neither the new Gotenks nor the Majin Buu even had Majin Buu Saga. Like, that felt like almost felt like a crime to not have at least one of them have Majin Buu Saga.
Yeah, I guess a question you ask yourself, right? And this is pure speculation and guesswork, but are they doing that because they're potentially releasing an LR, which is to do with the Majin Buu saga, and they're adding, maybe 130% or whatever, as the leaders go slightly better. I don't know, but for me, it doesn't make any sense as to why they didn't come out with at least one of the units with that upgraded leader skill for the Majin Buu saga. But it is what it is, I guess.
Sorry, folks, you heard it here first. LR Kid Buu confirmed by Jin-Roh.
Oh man, if only. If only. All right, so from there, I think that's pretty decent place to put that discussion. And guys, this is going to be now an open Q&A for y'all that are in the comment section. God, what is going on? In the comments section. Go ahead and ask any questions. We do have our first question from Mr. Kenny McGee 94. What do you think of the Majin Power category? And I think Alec already gave his take on it.
I'll step away from that one before I go off on the rant about useless categories again.
No, let's reiterate that. Go ahead, man. I want to hear this again.
Like seriously, what is?
Oh yeah, see, he wanted to talk about it.
Oh man, when I found out that they added these new categories, I looked them up, whatever. During my stream yesterday, we were kind of chit-chatting about it, and I went through and counted the number of categories that Global has, and Global's a few categories behind JP, but Global is sitting at 45 categories. All right?
Yeah.
7 to 10 of which are phenomenal, 20 of which are workable, and a handful of which are, why does this even exist? Like, Vegeta's family is essentially just like, okay, Worthy's Rival is essentially Vegeta's family with extra units on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the Vegeta category. It really is. And then you've got a ton of Vegetas stuffed into like Siblings Bond and stuff. It's like, I became super excited for Earthlings because it was something different that made sense, and it had like quantifiable conditions. And then everybody was just crapping all over Earthlings, and I felt so terrible. I was like, this is what I wanted.
Yeah, I guess like the only thing, like I was actually pretty happy about that too. Just like you said, it added a new flavor, right? The only issue that came about with it is it's severely limited right now. So hopefully they kind of increase options for some of the better units, or they get improved somehow or another in the current state. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you there. So all right, rant on.
Steering it a little more back towards Kenny's actual question, though, I don't think the category in and of itself is bad. I think it's good that we finally have a category other than Majin Buu Saga that really fills that Buu need, right? Like, this is a Buu category. Sure, Majub's on there, 21's on there, but let's be real, this is a Buu category, and Buu needs love in this game.
Yeah.
I can agree to that. I can agree that Buu does need love, but I'm on the opposite spectrum of this category. I think that this category didn't need to happen. I truly think that if we needed to bump up Buu, then what they needed to do was give a couple easy A's out, like over time, not all at once, because that would just be insane. Put this Buu as a Majin Buu or Majin Saga category lead, and just kind of work with that. Yeah, it's cool. We get Majub on there, and we get Android 21. But no offense, Social Fire. I know I'm kind of attacking right here, but I don't think a Majin Power category per se was entirely needed. Now, granted, if they would bring out more Majin characters, by all means, I would say Majin Power gets its own category. But I felt like this kind of came from left field in the sense, and kind of threw me off a little bit when it came to that.
Yeah, I think, I mean, this was brought up already, but yeah, it's essentially the Majin Buu category, right? If we're being honest, and it makes sense. I mean, a lot of these units were already on the similar categories anyway, but this is a way to consolidate all the variations on one setting. So I get that. I haven't tested this myself, but I think there's probably ways to work around it. But in the past, the big issue with including a lot of Majin Buu units were key issues, right? A lot of times you wouldn't get enough and key links active to where every single unit on the rotation would get close to a guarantee in super attack. So nowadays it's a little bit different. You can bring in support, and maybe that's where some of the other units kind of help out on the setup. So that's probably my takeaway on it. But the original question being what do you think about the category itself, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
What do you think about the category?
I mean, yeah, I think it's more or less a fan service to be able to run a full boot team, right? Without some of the restrictions that came about in the past, maybe. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah,
And that's why they gave him Key 4.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Social.
Nah, you're good.
Oh no, you're fine. I mean, sometimes it's just fun to run some of these different categories. Was it needed? No, but it's probably something that a lot of people are looking forward to. So.
Yeah.
I was just thinking about this when you guys were talking, and Majin Power is Boo's wicked bloodline.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
think about it, I mean, it's all related in some way, shape, or form to around Boo. So it's basically like, what is it? Wicked bloodline.
Yeah.
I think is the name of the category, but for the Boo.
Right,
Yeah.
and honestly, I do love the Wicked Bloodline category. So maybe there are bigger Boo fans in the world out there that actually were really excited about this Majin category. So I think it's probably dependent on it, each player, how they prefer certain units over others.
Yeah. I guess that's true. Maybe, and I don't want people to think that I'm not a Boo fan. Like, obviously my favorite character from Dragon Ball Z is Majin Buu. If anybody
Do the Boo.
you want me to do the Majin Buu?
Do the Boo. Do it.
Angry.
All right.
Do you like chocolate?
Oh my god.
But
that should be the notifications on your Twitch.
see, I
The
am
sound
trying
bite.
to do. I want to do some customs. That's for sure. So that'll be one of them. But yeah, no, like I'm an advocate for seeing Boo get some recognition. But I would like to see more recognition with the units first before the category, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I mean, I was expecting the physical Fat Boo to actually get an easy A this time around, but
That would
that's that's a perfect time for that. The other one was the agility Super Saiyan Gotenks to get an easy A. But I mean, I perfectly agree. I don't know. It's kind of like mixed bags, right? As much as I wanted improvements on that, the category itself is also, I guess, nice to have that option too. But it could go either way, I guess.
Sure. Another question from Baby You Ain't Toby 69. What do you think needs to be a category and what doesn't need to be?
I mean, are we talking about new categories or currently existing categories?
I
So
think that feeds off of what I was saying earlier about how there's so many pointless categories.
Yeah. Go
So
ahead.
basically a filtering option, right?
Yeah. Like which
Well, I'm
which ones
interested.
currently shouldn't be categories and what new categories we would like to see.
Okay, let's go down the list. You guys start marking the categories off that we don't need.
Okay, so I'm on the alphabetical list here on the wiki. So androids, I'd say yes, needs to be a category.
Definitely, yeah.
Android Cell Saga, yes. If it's a saga, I think it needs to be because that represents the story of the game, which is the whole thing is it represents the story of the franchise, which the whole thing's based off of.
True,
So
right.
if it's
Very
anything
true.
saga related, DB Saga, Future Saga, any saga, I think that needs to be here.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think we need it just like as an additional category. I think we just need like a Dragon Ball category, a Dragon Ball Z category, a Dragon Ball GT category, and a Dragon Ball Super category.
I think that'll definitely happen toward probably the end game of end game era, maybe.
Thirty
So, like,
days
When
before
the
they shut
ideas
down.
are just done.
yeah,
It is
because
true.
that would basically just close the loop, right? By
Yeah.
bringing in category additions like that, which I would love to personally have, but I think that'll probably come toward closer to maybe the twilight of Dokkan, which I hope doesn't happen, but
Same.
and I hope they include the categories before we even have that conversation. But yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Diabolical villains. Personally, I don't feel like this needed to be a category.
Same.
yeah. I mean,
Consists of characters who have killed at least one of their allies.
yeah. I wonder what other
Almost
categories
every
exist.
villain that's been. You know, Dragon Ball Heroes, I definitely think needed to be a category since we're including the units from that timeline. It definitely needs to be its own category.
Yeah,
Dragon Ball Seekers.
give or take.
That one's on
I
the
was
fence
gonna,
for me.
I was gonna say at first, you know, it was one of those ones that could go away, but hunting the Dragon Balls is such a core part of the storyline from the first two series
Right.
that Dragon Ball Seekers makes sense as a category to have. Earthlings, I've already discussed. I've said that I want it. I think you guys said the same thing, that it's a good thing.
Explosion of anger.
Explosion of anger.
No.
No.
Well, the problem with that too, right, is because of all these categories being added, some units are kept out of it, whereas they should have been on it, right? You run into that issue with too many categories being added on.
Right. Like
And Explosion of Anger is a good example of that, right?
physical LR Krillin. You telling me he wasn't angry when he threw that Destructo bit? You telling me he wasn't super pissed off?
He'll be added later.
He was mildly
he wasn't mad enough.
He was mildly flustered.
He didn't have enough veins popping out of that bald head. Full power. Full power, I don't feel like really needed to be a category.
You know, all right. I'm glad he said that. I'm gonna let you finish, and I'll add on to that. But I think we're thinking the same thing here.
I think it's just too inconsistent. You know, it's really too inconsistent. Like, you're telling me that Krillin using the exact same card here, guys. Krillin in the Namek Saga, or Saiyan Saga, throwing his Destructo Disc against Nappa was Krillin's full power. So shouldn't every Krillin after that be on full power?
Yeah, it raises a lot of questions.
What do you think, Soj?
I mean, there's just so much room for speculation. I feel like a lot of these categories, it could really be argued like that other units should be in it. Which, like we were talking about earlier, we may be seeing more units being added to these categories later on. There's just a lot of room for discussion.
It is. But in the interest of answering the question presented to us, moving on to Fusion. Obviously, Fusion is such a huge part of the.
Yeah.
It needs to be there.
That's a
Yes.
Giant form, again, I feel is one that makes sense. There's enough characters who grow in the series that it makes sense. Ginyu Force, yes. Goku's family, obviously.
Wait, hold on. I will be an advocate and say I don't think Ginyu Force needs to be there. I truly don't, and I think that they could have easily just stayed in Planet Namek Saga.
You know what, though? I think here's the thing I just thought of too when you said that. Because Team Bardock was just added, instead of having individual categories for that, why couldn't they just call it special teams or something? Where you could maintain a leader skill, right?
It's
but
either
you don't
that-
have individual categories for it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say with Team Bardock as well. Is that they could have easily, like those two could have merged into something, or you could have had, with the Ginyu Force, they could have been Planet Namek Saga leads, whichever ones were, and the Team Bardocks could have been low class warrior leads. They had a category that would have fit them perfectly, but they got their own categories, and those are two categories that I personally feel didn't entirely need to be added. As much of a fan I am of the Bardock Squad and the Ginyu Force, I just didn't think it was like something that should have happened personally.
Okay, I can agree with you on that point, but for how they presented how they gave us the units, they kind of needed to be their own category because that was kind of the gimmick for them. So, not so much in the story, in the lore of the story of the franchise or whatever, but in the way that they've marketed the game and developed the game, I feel like Ginyu Force and Team Bardock kind of need to be there for what they're doing with those free-to-play teams. But as far as like if we were to just completely rip out categories that were worthless, yeah, you could take those out and not hurt my feelings. I mean, let's be real. I honestly think you only need they should have only given us the categories that are for sagas, and then like Pure Saiyan, Hybrid Saiyan, Wicked Bloodline, things that had to do with races.
Yeah, and we can go down the list of all the categories, but ultimately I think the question is, the point already made that we have a lot of categories, right?
Right.
And this is pretty much the current meta of the game. But the question we should be asking is, because of the issues that we're having of too many categories introduced, or some of the categories introduced don't make sense, what's the next state that we can go from a leader skill and team building standpoint? We already have the type modes. We got the categories. We have dual categories. We have, leaders with a category and a type. What's the next step here?
Basically, that's how I feel about it. It's
Like,
just
full blown crazy. The next step is dual colored cards.
that would be sick. I don't care what anybody says. I would love that, actually.
They're doing it right now in the Dragon Ball Super card game, the actual physical trading card game, where they had colors, like black was a color, blue was a color, green was a color, so on and so forth. And then just like in the last couple of sets, they started releasing dual color cards that are both red and yellow, or blue and green, so they would work inside those specific deck types. So if we're really talking about what's coming next, you're going to have a rarity higher than LR, and you're going to have dual colored category leads.
Don't say
And
that.
then a category lead plus dual type category leads, and the list goes on, and we just go into organized chaos, right?
Absolutely. 900 categories and 1,400 different color combinations later.
Don't.
How long do you think until we get to the point in the game where it's a rainbow type lead or all type lead, 200% toward everything? When is that gonna happen?
Well, I mean, technically, we are getting a 120% all-type lead with that Easy A for the Kid Gohan LR.
Yeah.
So,
But
I
200%.
mean, it's...
We're talking about, we're gonna have to, like, right now,
Oh, that'd be sick.
the highest lead skill in the game is 177, isn't it?
Yeah, with
Yeah,
representatives of Universe 7, Gokuza.
What do you say? In the next 2-3 years, 200% all type lead?
Please.
Not an all-type lead. I think in the next 2 to 3 years we'll hit a 200% meta lead. Like, but to get to 200% all types, I think we're probably looking at closer to 4, maybe 5
Yeah,
years.
that's probably a realistic perspective, yeah.
So, and then continuing on with the categories, Alec, keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No.
interrupt you with
We
the
don't need to
King
keep going. I mean,
Yeah, we kind of like wrapped up our thoughts.
like,
I
really
guess,
what it
by-
comes down to, it should be the sagas, the series,
And the races.
the races,
Yeah. True.
and maybe some abilities that are shared, like Kamehameha. Like, it's used by enough characters that that's a collective of characters that would make sense as a category.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
But when you're talking about travelers of time and space, like, okay,
That just goes into Future Saga, basically.
Well, I think probably, the thing here, I think, ultimately comes down to the fact, the reason why there's so many categories is they wanted to control the percent increases toward the leader skill setting, right? So if you have too much of a limited category availability, you can only, you're eventually going to have to bump up the percentage boost, right? So you can no longer have the 170%, 130% variation if you already have one on another setting. So maybe that's one of the reasons they wanted to control the meta to some degree, where the percent increases wasn't going to go up high sooner than later.
Yeah. So, next question comes from Toon Rami. Jin, actually, if you could, I posted the question in guest chat and show notes. Would you be able to read that question for us?
There it is.
All right, let's take a look.
And also translate afterwards if you could.
All right, I'm going to read the second part where it says, Sensei wa genki deshita ka? He's asking, I guess he's referring to me as sensei for whatever reason, quote unquote. if I'm doing well. I am doing very well, Tinrami. I'm still a little bit scarred from being roasted on that one time. I forgot when. But you know what I'm talking about. We got some talking to do later, but we'll leave it be.
We got some talking to do later. Noria asks, can you believe I still haven't pulled Physical Super Vegito?
Oh, wow.
As someone who still hasn't pulled Strength LR Broly, or Intelligence Angel Golden Frieza, or Int Brienne, I feel you. I feel you deep.
Yeah, I mean, everybody I think has that selected amount of units that just continue to evade them, right? That's kind of a tendency. I'm trying to think of what mine is. I think Social Fire. You already know the answer to that.
We know mine. I don't know if he's ever gonna drop either game. I can't pull him. It's just crazy. I've only pulled physical LR. Yeah, I pulled him. I did like testing. I was testing animations at Count Giveaway, and he dropped on that, and I was so angry.
I can imagine.
Oh, every time I pulled LR Trunks, I would rub it in her face too. Like, hey, look who I pulled.
I can imagine.
You had the nerve to pull him.
I pulled
Oh my
LR
God.
Trunks when Social and I collabed on a video one time. I was laughing so hard.
You had the goal.
No, but
How dare you?
what's so funny is at that time, I have him now, but at that time, I really wanted LR Bardock as well. There's two units that I really wanted, couldn't get either one, and he pulls LR Bardock and physical LR Trunks in the same dual summon. I was
That's Dokkan Battle for you. That's how it go.
Yeah.
That's a ripperoonie right there. Tune with another question. Do you think fan creations and community projects might earn a place in Dokkan eventually? Examples are SSJ5, Cell 18 Absorb, Goat, Grilling with a Nose. And then he says,
Oh, God.
never mind, I answered my own question.
I mean, I've seen other games do this, and I think later on in Dokkan we might see stuff like this further down the road.
I don't think we'll ever see an SSJ5, but in all honesty, like, I could see something like Cell 18 Absorb in, like, Super Dragon Ball Heroes. I could see that kind of as something that they possibly, like, put in there, and then it correlates to Dokkan Battle later. But at this time, I don't personally see it right off the bat.
I don't think it's ever going to happen. Let's just preface what I'm about to say with I don't think it will ever happen. Like, I don't think fan created things like Super Saiyan 5 are going to make it into the game. That being said, Masako X does this phenomenal what if Raditz turns good what if, like, it's a whole series. It's like 15, 16, 17, 18 episodes long, something like that. And he's now did a spin-off from that. He has a little series called Dragon Ball R&R.
Yep.
With Raunch, the daughter of Raditz and Launch. And if we're gonna get any fan-made character in this game, it better be Raunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that series all too well. I auditioned twice for it.
Oh my dude.
Yeah, I got turned down heavy.
Ouch.
Yeah, but no, it's still a great series. Like, honestly, you bring up a good point. Like, you know, there's always those things for Dragon Ball culture, like Team 4-Star, obviously. You know, and that includes Moscow X and this, obviously, because he's so entwined with that project. To where you look at these and you're like, you can't think Dragon Ball in some way, shape, or form without thinking of the parodies or the spin-offs. And honestly, Dragon Ball R&R with Raunch and possibly a good guy Raditz would be kind of cool to see if they would actually do it. But in all honesty, I don't think it'll happen myself either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and say I don't see it happening either, but I think my point is if they were to do that, the best way to do it is probably through like April Fools and special times in the year like that, maybe.
Yeah, I could see it being like some limited edition.
Like, basically, like some of the cards we get, it's not necessarily for their usefulness, it's more or less a collection piece to the deck.
Yeah, that's true too. They could do it as an April Fool's joke type of thing. Another question from Kitty McGee. On a side note, what other Dragon Ball Heroes characters, including what if forms, would you like to see added in Dokkan Battle as a whole?
Super Saiyan God Trunks.
I knew that was going to be the first thing that comes up too.
Yes, I would give all my stones for that.
I would say yes. That's what I'm gonna say is yes. If it's a Dragon Ball Heroes character, yes, put it in.
Yeah.
My biggest one, because I'm a giant Cooler fan, would be Golden Metal Cooler. I would love to see him in Dokkan Battle soon. Not later, soon.
That's another one that do really well. That'd be.
It'll probably happen, and at least on the JP side with the Heroes collaboration banner coming up at some point. Was it like September or something?
I think it's November, isn't it?
Yeah, you're probably right. I think it's right before the
It
Christmas.
should be the 11 or 12 year anniversary of Dragon Ball Heroes this year.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's November, right before some of the bigger Dokkan Fest year-end stuff comes up. I think that was one of the banners.
I'm pretty sure we will see these units coming to the game at some point. It's just when.
True, very true. I would also like to see the merged Zamasu that's in Super Dragon Ball Heroes with like that little eye patch thing that looks really dope. I thought that design looked absolutely sick for merged Zamasu.
Yeah, that's another cool one, and that's definitely one I can see them adding in. People would go pretty crazy for that.
I'm going to be 100% honest. My only knowledge of Dragon Ball Heroes is based on the units available in Dokkan Battle.
That's fair. That's fair. It's not a good show.
Sadly,
First
it's
one
not.
to say it. It's all action, no substance. Which you'd think, oh, it's Dragon Ball. It's all action and no substance. No, there's actual substance in Dragon Ball compared to Dragon Ball Heroes.
It's all just twists and turns, man.
Okay, so my biggest problem with Dragon Ball Heroes is they give you these little kernels of ideas of stories that would be really good if they were fleshed out, and then they just go back to punching each other.
Right, but I mean, I'm gonna be honest. As a Dragon Ball fan, I just watch it because it's.
Yeah, because Trunks is in it.
Yes. No, but-
That's fair. That's perfectly fair. But like Hearts in this most recent one, Hearts had motivation that actually made him interesting, and they just left it on the floor. He says something to the effect of Zeno is too powerful, he's too dangerous, he needs to be kept in check, the mortals need to protect themselves. And then they completely drop that entire idea and just go back to him and Goku punching each other.
yeah,
like-
I actually saw a lot of people were upset about that.
Like, that's the type of storytelling, the type of conflict. You want your villain to think he's the good guy. That's like Magneto is a phenomenal villain because he thinks he's right.
Right.
You know what? They were probably like, hold on a second, this is a really good idea. We're not going to use this in Heroes. We got to save it for whatever, Super or whatever.
We got to save it for Naruto.
Oh, Jesus.
I mean, it's a great concept because they're not entirely wrong.
No.
So.
I mean, like, that's the reason I like Zamasu, because from Zamasu's perspective, he wasn't a bad guy.
True.
He
Very
felt
true.
morally justified in what they sort of cartoon villained him towards the midpoint of that arc. But when he started off, like, his motivation was reasonable. Like, go ahead and Google Zamasu did nothing wrong. There's a whole group of people who follow that. Like,
Well, that's the thing, right? That's the different perspective that is nice to see, right? Is like, the Z fighters or whoever, all the heroes. Oh yeah, they're just the heroes. They're good guys. Nothing is wrong with them. However, maybe you look at it from the other perspective. To some, maybe they're actually villains. So I think you bring up a good point where it's all about perception and relativity.
True. And then we'll get into this last one here. First off, a comment from Toon saying, "That was Google Translate, baby. I meant to say, I am the real Jin-Roh. How did I do, Sensei?"
Yeah, I scrolled back up and reread that, and that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think
then,
he's,
and then his last question, I think, is more directed towards you, Jin, and you, Social Fire. Who is the bigger Dragon Ball fan? Did one of you get the other more into the franchise?
I think both of us found out we were Dragon Ball fans at one point, right? It's just the conversation came up, and you're like, "I like this," and you're like, "I like this too." I'm like, "All right, cool, we can hang out."
Yeah, because we both grew up watching it, so we were both fans, and I think there was a point where we were talking one time, and what was it about?
I think
Chi-Chi's
actually-
and the Nimbus.
I think what happened actually was you saw me playing Dokkan Battle at some point.
Oh, that's yeah. So you
And then we
early
started
on,
talking about it.
You were playing, and I started talking. I was like, oh, I started talking about some of the characters.
I
and
did
you
the
were like,
typical guy stuff, like, all right, I gotta test this chick.
Yeah.
I gotta test her knowledge, make sure she's not a fair weather fan.
But it's just something I grew up as a gamer and enjoying anime and different things, and so did he. So it's something that we kind of bonded over. With other things, like we both love sports and stuff, but I would say we're both pretty.
Yeah, we're talking about our child. We would compare our childhood and talk about, the TV show that would come on at 5:30 in the morning, blah blah blah. Like the original Dragon Ball, like first time it started airing in the U.S. and stuff like that. And the conversation kind of progressed slowly over time based on it. But it kind of evolved, I guess.
Yeah, but we're both big nerds when it comes to Dragon Ball, so.
Big nerds, you say? You're in the right place.
Nerds. Alrighty, guys. So from there, first off, let's go ahead and get some social media plugs right here. Obviously, you guys know that we got the Global Gang link tree right there, where you can check out everybody's links from the Global Gang, including myself, Tystra. We got Alec Hunter 1982, Trevor Isengard, or Trevor's Always On Guard. And then Anthony J-Mo. Unfortunately, those two could not make it with us to have this discussion, but they are still lovely, lovely people, and I think you all should check them out if you haven't done so already. And then obviously a big, big special thanks to obviously Social Fire and Jin-Roh for being here. Their links are right there as well as we cycled through both of their YouTubes and Twitters throughout the entire thing. If you guys have not done it already, please, for the love of God, what are you doing to yourselves? You guys should be following these guys on Twitter and subscribing to their YouTubes. So with that, do you guys have anything else that you guys would like to say when it comes to what you guys got planned for YouTube or anything like that?
I have plenty of things to say, but I think I'll let Social Fire cover it first.
As far as like stuff on my channel, I mean, I've got some stuff I'm working on this year. I want to try to add, I don't want to say too much yet because I'm still kind of figuring out. But there's more that I want to add to my game. I say this all the time. I want to start streaming more too, that's really just a time factor. But there's some possibly new additions that'll be coming up throughout the year. So I'm gonna have to stick around and find out.
I think for me, I definitely do want to consider feedback I continuously get for everyone watching and just kind of over time evolve. Nothing really specific, but I think feedback's important, and I will continue to create content based on the feedback I receive. However, I do want to close out by saying I did really enjoy being on here with you guys, and it's an honor to be here, and I enjoyed all the conversations we had. So hopefully it was the same for you guys, and you'll invite us as a guest again at some point.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Heck yeah, we will. Like I said before, I was fanboying at the fact that you guys are even came on. So and then also we got some special projects, I'm pretty sure, between all of the Global Gang podcast compatriots. Alec, what do you got going on for this week?
Let's see here. My streaming schedule has been absolute garbage the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna try to get back onto my actual streaming schedule. My Elgato is still giving me problems, so if I'm not streaming Dokkan Battle, I'll be streaming Fallout 76, which those are two diametrically opposed groups of people apparently, because I'll have 35 people in a Dokkan stream and 2 people in a Fallout stream. So if I'm begging you, please come watch me play Fallout. It's not as bad as you think it is, I promise. But no, let's see here. So Tuesday we've got the podcast. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at 1 o'clock Central Time at my Twitch channel. You guys can find it in my link tree, which is in chat right now.
Yeah. And then, of course, we do also want to give a shout out to Trevor, because Trevor will be hosting the podcast on Tuesday, which is going to be, the 28th? Yep. He'll be hosting the podcast on the 28th, and we will have our special guest, Ruho4, will be joining us, and that will be at noon Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday. It'll be on Trevor's Twitch channel. And then as for me, guys, nothing really going on too much this week. We do have some stuff with the United Extreme Gaming community that I am a part of. We're going to be doing some fun stuff there. When it comes to streaming some of the game nights that we have, we do have a Destiny hangout night that we're going to be doing on Monday. And then, of course, Halo Master Chief Collection. Oh, I heard Kitty.
Kitty.
Halo Master Chief Collection hangout as well on Tuesday. And probably some Dokkan Battle on Sunday. Probably not probably, but most likely. Just getting ready for the stuff that's going to be coming out on Tuesday. Outside of that, guys, don't forget to also check out the Global Gang Podcast Archive, which this episode will be on tomorrow at noon, correct, Alec?
Yeah, as long as we get it uploaded in time.
I should be able to get it uploaded this time. My bad. And then, yeah, check us out on YouTube, obviously, where we'll be posting up all that. And then, obviously, Trevor, in the most awesome way possible, has made special t-shirts for your favorite Global Game Podcast person. Obviously, that should be Taister Daisetsu. I'm just saying, guys. Look at that God Goku.
Obviously.
Look at that God Goku right there. That sheen and everything. Nah.
Yeah, I am actually wearing my
He's wearing his lovely Cumber shirt right here. I think you cut out there, Alex, so...
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you cut out, so I finished your sentence.
I was like, what's going on?
Sorry, my mic likes to do that every once in a while, just cut out on me.
Yeah. So we got, obviously, me and Alex shirts right there. We have this is the J-Mo shirt right here, the Boo Splatter. Or not J-Mo, sorry, Trevor, I'm dumb. Sorry,
You said
Trevor.
it, not me.
Well, it's true. And then we got J-Mo's shirt right here, the SSJ4 Goku. These are just designs of our favorite units in Dokkan in the sense. And then obviously you can't go wrong with your Global Gang podcast shirts. We got shirts, mugs, and mouse pads if you're feeling awesome. I definitely need to get myself the coffee mug right here. So... And then
If you're gonna only buy one thing, buy the coffee mug because the design will fade off the shirt after a while. But coffee is forever.
Coffee
or at
is
least
forever.
until you finish the cup.
Very
that's such a deep statement right there.
And then, of course, just to end it all off, shout outs to the people that have followed or posted a channel today. Obviously, we have Izanagi_Chia_X for following the channel. Lil Marco23 for following the channel as well. And then we got Tess Doba giving us a host at the beginning of the podcast. So thank you all for that. You guys are wonderful people. Every little bit of support to everybody helps out. So stay safe out there, guys. Especially with everything that's going on. And don't forget to check out everybody. As always, this is Tystra signing off. My dudes! Any final words, everybody?
Thanks for having us. It was fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Thanks for being here, guys. Thanks for being here, chat. We love you all. We'll see you in 3 days.
Love you all very much.
Bye.
Bye, guys.